Look, was this game the prettiest game the Leafs have played this season? No, it wasn't. Was this game the best 60-minute performance? No, again, it wasn't. But I'm going to give this team a lot of credit tonight. And I know we're not in the moral victory business here this season, especially considering how this year started. I mean, obviously getting 2 points out of this one is a lot better than only walking away with one or none in this. But, I mean, throughout the course of this game, I would say just in general, it felt like this one was all Philly early, and Leafs had no response. They looked flat. They looked lifeless. They looked like they were lacking that energy and passion, I guess you could say, if you want to sum it up into one word, that they had on Tuesday night against Florida. And as the game went on and as it progressed, they kind of woke up and they came to life and they started to figure things out. And it ends up walking away with 2 points here tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. And for that, I'm going to give them a lot of credit and say, honestly, I am very happy with this game. Yes, there are moments and there are things and there are plays and there are players that I could look at and point to individually. And throughout the course of what I'm assuming will probably be a 2-hour plus show here tonight, because that's what Leafs Nation After Dark always is here, we'll break down those things. But in general, I'm really happy with this game. I am. Because not every game is your A-plus night. Not every game is your Tuesday night against Florida. So what do you do? How do you perform? And how do you respond when it's not? And the Maple Leafs found a way to claw back in this one. Their goaltender didn't let it get out of hand. And they walked away with 2 points tonight with an overtime victory against the Philadelphia Flyers with one of the greatest solo performances from Scott Laughton, whether it's in the face-off dot, if it was feistiness at 5-on-5, if it was the way he played on the penalty kill, down to the fact that he scored a short-handed game-tying goal against his former team in Philadelphia. That was an amazing night for Scott Laughton, and then it's capped off by an overtime winner from Easton Cowan. To help us break down tonight's entire game, we'll have Mike from Buffalo stop by. We're going to get to you guys here in the chat as well, because I want to know how you guys feel, whether it's from your super chats, if it's from call-ins, all of that. I want to hear from those of you who are part of the Leafs Nation community right here on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel. So make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. But with that, let's welcome him to the show. You guys know him as Mike in Buffalo. He is covering the Leafs for HockeyHotStove.com. Mike, welcome to the program tonight. How are you feeling after this victory?
Good evening, Zach. Well, I think all Leaf fans are sort of breathing a sigh of relief because, in this now 8-game streak that they've earned points in, the loss in Detroit, the loss against the Islanders on the road, those are the only blemishes. And I think they would have been happy with the point, trailing 1-0 for most of the game. But they get the goal from Laughton, and then probably the wildest, most chaotic overtime I've seen them play in a long time. And it ends up with Cowan getting the game winner. And then, if you noticed, after the game winner, he did the, he just did the spread out his hands, and I think he was trying to do the Superman thing. But he's played 2 games in Philadelphia, and he scored goals in both of them. So I think Leaf fans will feel pretty good right now.
Yeah, that was he scored his first NHL goal, right? That was against Philly in Philly the last time. That was the same day. A lot of Leafs fans, a lot of people from Toronto were probably a little distracted on that one, Mike, because that was Game 7 World Series that night. But yeah, that's right. That was his first NHL goal, and tonight is his first overtime goal, actually. So a couple firsts for Easton Cowan in Philly. So that was exciting.
And both of them set up by John Tavares, because Tavares set him up on, I think it was, So, I mean, I don't think anybody can complain about the way Cowan has sort of come along right now. I mean, I honestly think that the the line with him and Nick Lavoie and Nick Robertson has been their most consistent line over this stretch. I mean, you could say, well, Matthews has scored a ton of goals, but the problem is that Max Domi is on that line, and he makes a negative out of two positives. McMahon has been really good, Matthews has been really good, and Domi is a giveaway waiting to happen. And tonight, that one goal, who was on the ice and who was responsible? Domi and Philippe Myers.
Yeah, well, let's start with Domi, and then we'll get it back into some more positives here and the fact that they came back and won this one, because I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the story, and the fact that you're trying to claw away, not just in this game, but in the Eastern Conference and fight your way back into playoff contention and rising up the ranks here in the standings. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing for me tonight that I can look at as a negative, I guess, where, you know, there's nights where he can blend in and it can be, the blemishes can kind of be covered up because of what the other guys do or how the team plays around him. Tonight was a night, Mike, for me with Max Domi, where I looked at him particularly and thought, this is why long-term, I don't think that this is the fit. This is why long-term, I don't think he's the guy to play there. Personally, I don't have a problem with him being on the roster if he can fit into a bottom six role or find the right chemistry with right guys down there. I don't know if you love it at the salary cap that he's coming in at or the hit he's bringing to you, but that's where moments like this, where it's like you're going to get tougher matchups, you're going to get better offensive lines on the other side, you're going to play more minutes and have more opportunity to be exposed. That's where Max Domi can have that happen, and you're exactly right. You look at that goal, everyone else on the ice, for the most part, is in the right spots, is in the right positioning for the coverage that the Leafs are trying to deploy, and it's Max Domi who gets sucked down a little too low, gets caught puck watching, and Travis Konechny comes walking right down Broadway and buries that one to open the scoring, which for a long time was the lone goal in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's the best place to put Domi. I mean, some people would say in the press box. I mean, he's a good playmaker. He's a good passer. I think he overpasses. He doesn't shoot enough. You can tell by like the single digits in goals that he had last year. I think it was 8 or 9. But you know, in the absence of number 16, they need somebody to be a passer and a playmaker with Austin Matthews. Michelli didn't work out early in the season. I don't agree with putting all your eggs in one basket and putting Nylander on that line. So by default, it's Domi, and Domi can't play center. He's a bigger defensive liability up the middle than he is on the wing. But the problem is on the wing, he doesn't win puck battles, and he gives away the puck, and positionally, he is unsound. So, I mean, I think it's sort of the best worst case to have him on that number one line on the wing, because I don't think you're going to be able, if you're Brad Treliving, to go out and get a top 6 forward this season. You don't have the cap space. You don't have the assets. So, I mean, I think right now, until, when Nylander comes back, I think Michelli is going to be the one that moves down in the lineup, and probably Yarncrow comes out of the lineup. But, I mean, right now, I think that line is going good enough that you can soak up the negative that Max Domi provides you.
Yeah, that's it. I think for like short term, or getting you through points in the regular season and then figuring out where you're at after Olympics, and if you're a team who's going to push chips in and actually try to acquire piece. And then I guess the other piece of the puzzle is, okay, we're trying to acquire who's out there and what's the cost, because that's the thing I'd be cautious about here. But I think for time being, you can kind of get away with it. It's just a little tough when you don't have William Nylander who's going to help you out on other lines, because I'm with you 100%. I don't put William Nylander on that top line and load them up. In fact, Mike, I don't know if you saw, I said the other day on the show with Rosie when we were talking about Nylander coming back, I threw out the suggestion of like putting Nylander with Laughton and Lorentz. And I think people lost their minds because I worded it as the fourth line. I said you put him into that fourth line, but I know it's an outside the box and it's probably not going to happen, but my thinking was you keep everyone else and you just kind of allow yourself to have waves of attack. And you look at Laughton, the way he's playing recently and the minutes Berube's allocating to him, you give him a better player in William Nylander than Calle Yarncroke. Maybe Laughton's play elevates there because he's got a more skilled guy. It's like what you've done with Nick Waugh. And it's not the same, obviously. I'm not going to compare Nick Robertson and Easton Cowan to William Nylander, but you give Nick Waugh more skilled players. That third line, they've been one of the most consistent. So that was kind of how I looked at it. But yeah, I just think for the time being, Domi being on that first line, you can get away with it for the most part. It's just a night like tonight, it does get a little bit exposed where you're like, oh shit, there's the one play, and then a few different times you're looking at some of the giveaways, the overpassing, where it's just unnecessary. I even think back to that second period. I think it was second period where he's up the wall. He's got Matthews down lower below the hash marks, supporting him kind of on the half wall area. And instead he makes a no-look pass cross ice to Morgan Riley, who stepped inside the blue line, and it's Trevor Zegras, who's standing 2 feet away. Like, it wasn't like he came flying from the goal line to pick it off. He was standing 2 feet away and picks it off. There's some interesting plays that he makes that are confusing at times, Mike.
Well, the problem with him is it's always the low percentage pass. It's always the cross ice on the power play. It's always, passing through somebody's legs. It's like, make the simple play. Sometimes the simple play is the best play, and he doesn't want to do that. I mean, he's creative. He's very skilled. But the problem is that he doesn't have a filter in his head, and he thinks he can make these passes all the time. And sometimes they go the other way. And I think, one of the things that we saw in this game tonight is the sort of pass first mentality of a number of Leaf players. I mean, Michelli has always been that way. And tonight on the 3-on-3 in overtime, when him and Matthews sort of double clutched, and it ended up with Zegras going the other way. The game was over with. I mean, Zegras apparently is phenomenal at shootouts. It was a breakaway opportunity, and Hildeby stood up and made a phenomenal save. And he I think he's in Zegras's head, because Zegras thought he scored that goal late in the third period. Which, I mean, talk about play acting. What an absolute friggin' clown he is! Because there was no way. I mean, he was standing right there. There was no way the puck went over the line. I'm like, that didn't go in. And then they showed 5,000 different angles, and it's like, it didn't go in. So what are you celebrating? Krusty. It's like,
I'll give him credit. Because I would have done the same thing, Mike, to be completely honest with you. Now, mind you, I'm playing in leagues without a billion different camera angles and video replay, but when I was playing, I would have done the same thing and tried to sell it to get the ref to think, maybe that one did cross the line. And to his credit, it did force them to go to review, because I think if they don't celebrate like that, they never even check it. And the other thing I did laugh at, because, I mean, the other side of this, Mike, was if he was on the bench looking at it and being like, it's a goal, yeah, I probably would have still been with you and being like, this guy's a fucking idiot. But they go to the bench, they look at him, and you could clearly tell he was like, nah, didn't go in. Like, he's watching the replay and he's like, never mind. Didn't happen. But so I will defend him, and I'm gonna give him the credit on that one. Say, hey, you know what? I respect the acting job there, because I kind of appreciate that it forced the ref's hand to be like, maybe we do need to look at this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the unspoken hero of this game is Hildeby.
100%.
And this is the thing. We don't know when Stolarz is coming back. I mean, we've actually had sightings of him at the Ford Performance Center or at the Scotiabank Arena, but it doesn't sound like he's anywhere close to being back. And the key part of this season, now it's 14 games between now and the Olympic break. 8 of them are on the road. And this team going into this game had the worst road record in the National Hockey League at 5-10-2. Now it's 6-10-2. They, the cardinal rule in here with playoff teams is you go 750 at home and 500 on the road. And if you're making the playoffs. Well, they're over 750 at home.
They're like a top 5 home team in the NHL, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the second most wins behind Colorado. Colorado's 17-0-2, and they're 15-5-5. But on the road, they're dead last, and they have 25 or 24 road games now. between now and the end of the season. So you better get your ass in line and start winning on the road. And they were one of the best road teams in the league last year. They better start winning on the road, or this making the playoffs is a pipe dream.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that comes with everything else that was going on with this group all the way through the last, or I guess until the last month here, effectively, because we can say they need to start winning on the road, which they do here tonight. But Mike, I guess the other thing I'll just throw in and say, hey, this is a reason why I'm now drinking the Kool-Aid to believe that this is possible is we looked at the penalty kill and said this penalty kill needs to get better. And now, obviously, part of that coincides with Scott Laughton returning. And I think, and I'm saying this on a night where he goes 19-1 in the faceoff circle, which is just outrageous. But I do mean this seriously. Winning draws in your own zone on the penalty kill and starting with the puck and sending it out of the zone and forcing the other team to regroup is a pretty big piece of this, because you win 1 or 2 draws every penalty kill, you're killing 20 plus seconds, depending on how good you are at slowing down the other team through transition and on zone entries every time you go to the penalty kill. Laughton comes back, amazing job on the penalty kill. You're watching Brandon Carlo step back into this. He's looked pretty good in the last 2 games that he's played here now, so penalty kill picks up. Excuse me. And then on the other side of things, the other thing too, Mike, that we've kept looking at all season, and again, it's just bringing back to the point where we have to see it to believe it with the road side of the game, but we talked about Matthews. Well, if Matthews doesn't pick it up, this team has no chance. He picks it up here now. If you don't get the depth, you're not going to have any chance. The depth is picking it up here now. If you can't move the puck in transition and break out of your zone, you're not going to have a chance. It's all progressed. Whether it lasts for a long time, I'm not sure, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now and choosing to believe that the team can do it, and I'm choosing to believe that this road record, which is undeniably atrocious. Let's call it what it is. You pointed out the stats there of where they're at. It's fucking awful. I'm going to choose to believe this thing can turn in the right direction and these guys can build off the momentum they've generated here right now, because the style of play at bare minimum is looking a lot better, and now you're picking up points to coincide with that.
And the favorite target of the gentlemen and ladies in the chat after the loss on Long Island on Saturday, and justifiably so with the -4.
Myself included. I'll throw myself in there. Included.
It was a terrible defensive play on the Schaefer overtime goal. But you bring Brandon Carlo back in the lineup. You put him with Morgan Riley. And remember, Morgan Riley played better after the trade deadline when they put him with Brandon Carlo. And he played well in the playoffs in the first series against Ottawa with Brandon Carlo. It was only when Florida beat the crap out of everybody on the Leafs blue line did he start to not play well. Well, he was -6 in those 2 games in a row against Winnipeg and then against the Islanders. Comes back against Florida. He's +2 tonight. He's even. And if you want to know, he saved this game on that diving play right before they went the other way. So how do you like that, chat?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think Brandon Carlo is an interesting, I said this on the pregame, I think he's an interesting element of this team, because he's always going to get compared to what the trade was and the trade pieces were going to Boston. And I think that's unfair to do to Brandon Carlo, because he didn't choose that trade. Brad Treliving chose the trade. That is an assessment and an evaluation of Brad Treliving. You can assess Brandon Carlo separately from that and just what he is as a player. And in general, I think Brandon Carlo is a really good player, and he's the type of defenseman you were looking for on this team. He's a big guy. He's not going to kill guys out there physically, but he's pretty good at using his body effectively, using his size effectively. He's got a pretty good stick. He can move the puck well enough. I know a lot of people want to just look at him and say, big guy, slower guy, he doesn't move the puck well. No, he does move it well enough. He's not like Troy Stetcher, where he can get up the ice and move his legs pretty quickly to get out of the zone, but In terms of a first pass and breaking out, he's capable of doing that, and he's just a calming presence defensively.
Yeah, it's not a mistake that Boston had him partnered with Charlie McAvoy all the time. I mean, that was the main pairing, and they were eating 20 plus minutes a night. It's just the support structure in Boston. They have a defense first mentality most of the time, except for guys like Pasternak who score. I mean, the Leafs have not had that, but he had a calming influence on Riley after the trade. I think, obviously he was debilitated by this ankle and foot problem that was solved. He's looked pretty good. And I mean, the recognition here in the last 5 minutes of the third period should tell you everything you need to know about the Leafs blue line in its current state right now. Because Craig Berube, if you noticed, there was a certain big guy who wears number 51 who didn't see the friggin' ice in the last 5 minutes of the third period. They changed their pairings around. Stetcher played with Riley. Larson played with Benoit. You could not see Philippe Myers on the ice because it was a 1-1 game, and they wanted to make sure that they had the point. And you know what? If that's the case, then Matt Benning should be in the lineup or Henry Thrun should be up from the Marlies until Jake McCabe comes back. Because I don't know if Tanev is coming back, but your best six does not include number 51.
Yeah, I'm operating under the impression that the way you got to approach your defensive group and who your six are is assuming no Tanev. Like, just operate under the impression there's no Tanev. I don't know anything about that necessarily, but it seems like you're going to have him going through some type of long-term, like surgery that's going to keep him out long-term. So I would just rather, I'll operate under the assumption that he's going to be out for a long time, and that if he comes back earlier, that's a positive. And I'm with you. A long-term solution for this group doesn't include Philippe Myers. Now, I will credit him in saying he's been better since he was last paired with Morgan Riley, because you talked about putting Morgan Riley with an adequate D partner. I said to the chat the last game, like, you messaged me about that. You put him with an adequate guy, and he's +2 against the Panthers there. Both of them were, Brandon Carlo and Riley. Well, on the same side of things, you put Philippe Myers with a guy who's not Morgan Riley, and things don't look, so doom and gloom every time he touches the ice. It doesn't look great. I'm not trying to suggest that, but it's not nightmare fuel every time they go out there. I personally like Thrun. I know it doesn't necessarily fit in terms of handedness that you get out there, but I think if you're going to pick between Benning or Thrun, I think Thrun's the guy who's a little bit more mobile. Like, you see how much Troy Stetcher impacts the game and impacts this team out there. I think Thrun can bring a little bit more of that to the game, but I'm with you. It doesn't include Phil Myers. I want to hone in on that third line that we saw tonight, Mike, because this isn't just this game. It's not just the game against Florida on Tuesday and the opening goal that they scored in that one. Even into the game on Saturday against Long Island. Like, this is like a couple of weeks here now where they've been put together and they've been very, very effective. I think all the way around, every person on that line is benefiting the next guy, or benefiting from the next guy, I should say, and also simultaneously helping the next guy. You look at Cowan and Robertson, them being paired together gives them just another skilled, speedy guy to go out there with them who kind of, I don't know about like the best way to put it, but maybe approaches the game the same way, where they both are feisty. They're both tenacious. They're both willing to get in on the forecheck. They're both willing to physically battle while also being fast, skilled players who are undersized and using their other elements of their game to their advantage in spite of their size. They find a way to pair together and be a good duo. Then you put Nick Waugh, who's not the fastest guy in the world, maybe not necessarily as slow as, a guy like John Tavares, but I mean, I don't watch him and think, holy shit, that's Lightning McQueen out there, but he's a guy who can at least follow the play to the same degree that they can. He's not getting lost with their speed out there. And he's a skilled guy as well. I don't think he gets enough credit for how much skill he has. Now you pair him with two other skilled guys, and each one of them is seeming to benefit from this, because you also look at the two kids, I'm throwing Robertson in there as a kid. You look at Robertson and Cowan, they're not like the most defensively responsible players in the world, and some of that I think just comes with being younger guys and trying to figure things out, and maybe also some deficiencies in their game to an extent. But Nick Waugh can kind of make up for that. And that line is really, really working right now, Mike.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's imperative on that line to have a defensively responsible center to sort of stay back and be the high guy. And if, Robertson or Cowan get caught, that he's plugging up the middle and prevents the counterattack going the other way. I mean, but this is the thing that just really makes me shake my head. I have been an advocate of giving Nick Robertson more playing time over the last couple years, and you've had two coaches with blinders on when it comes to Nick Robertson, where Sheldon Keefe didn't trust him defensively, and Craig Berube, I think, sort of played lip service with him. And only when they really needed him and they started putting him in a more defined role and a more primary role has he thrived. And it's like, okay, this guy scored 55 goals with Peterborough in the Ontario Hockey League. He led the OHL in scoring. He's never really been given an opportunity to play in the top six. And the explanation has been that he's not good enough defensively. Well, the guy that we're seeing in the last 8 games is not the same guy who got blasted by an Ottawa Senator in, I think, the second or third game of his regular season career. It's not the guy who got wasted by Matt Roy against the LA Kings and was he's more physically durable, he's more feisty, and I think the thing that, I mean, every Leaf fan should love the fact that when Balinskis from the Panthers went at and tried to knock Robertson, he turned around and cross-checked the guy in the back. He fights. Yes. He's never going to be big enough, but I think the effort and the feistiness are one thing on his side. And Cowan, he's only 20 years old. He's going to get smarter. He's going to get better. But this kid at 20 years old does a lot of things that players who are 25 and 26 don't know how to do.
So the one thing I think, and you could speak to this better than I can, but I think it kind of got lost in people, but I think back to guys breaking in the league in the old days, and Rosie would talk about this, and you can hear guys, whether you listen to podcasts, watch shows, whatever, if you came into the league and you weren't doing the things that a coach wanted you to do, you would lose minutes, you would sit in the press box, you could get sent down until you started to figure things out. And that was kind of how you would break people in, essentially. And then you could still get to the NHL, be a really skilled player, but you had to learn other elements of your game, and you weren't just necessarily handed the keys to the Ferrari on day one and given those opportunities. And that was always my pushback against people in Leafs Nation, in my post-game shows, in the chat, whatever, is like, well, Nick Robertson didn't really develop the other aspects to his game. So I hear you in like giving him the top 6 opportunities, and he did thrive when he was given those this year. But I think the pushback was always, there was no need to just hand this guy those opportunities just for the sake of it in years past. And the one thing that I think benefited him the most, and I'm really happy to see that it's turned out this way, because some guys can just get turned off from this. Nick Robertson took that and said, okay, I want more minutes, I want more responsibility, but you want me to play more physical, you want me to be involved in the forecheck, you want me to get better defensively, you want me to be stronger and more durable, I will do that. Because this guy, Mike, isn't the same player as you kind of just mentioned there. He's not the same player that he was when he entered the league. And a lot of that is learning. A lot of that is taking the criticism that he's receiving from the coaching staff and saying, okay, I will work on these things. And I think he deserves a lot of credit, because I don't think that this guy was just hiding in him years ago and the coaching staff just wasn't giving him the chance. I think he thought he was something, and it just wasn't coming through the same degree that he expected it to. And he said, fine, I will learn from this. I will take this and I will get better. And I watch this guy every single time he goes on the ice, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes the shift isn't the best shift ever, but he works his nuts off. He does the little things right. He's committed defensively. He plays a much more responsible game. There's still a lot of work to do in his game all the way through, but I think he deserves a lot of credit, Mike, for just taking those criticisms, learning, and getting better at them, because if he doesn't, he's probably not here, whether that's in the NHL or just with the Toronto Maple Leafs anymore.
And if you look at their roster, when everybody is healthy, the best shot on the team is Austin Matthews. The
Yeah.
second best shot is William Nylander. The third best shot is Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
He's got a quick release. He can one time it. He's got a great wrist shot. I mean, that's why everybody, the people who are pro Robertson have said, put him in a scoring role, put him on a line with either Matthews or Tavares and let him cook. Now, I think you keep this line together as long as they're working, as long as possible. I think Robertson and Cowan, their sort of skill sets. I think Cowan's more of a playmaker. Robertson's more of a sniper. That feeds off each other, and Waz the defensive guy. So that works. But when Nylander comes back, do not mess with that line. You keep that line together until they go scoreless in 10 games.
Exactly.
You keep that line together. You put Nylander on the second line with Nyes and Tavares. You move Michelli down to the fourth line where he can pass it into oblivion, because that's all he does is pass and double clutch. And you accept the defensive inadequacies of Domi on the top line with McMahon and Matthews, and you've got four lines there, and you just go to town. All you have to really worry about is the health of your blue line, and that, I think, is going to be the difference between this team making the playoffs and missing the playoffs, is being able to get six defensemen who don't screw you. And the reason I keep referring to Philippe Myers is because he's of that long line of Maple Leaf defensemen going back to Aki Berg and Corey Cross and Justin Hall and Jurke Lumen. I mean, please, I don't have enough fingers on my friggin' hands to count the number of bad defensemen that this friggin' team has had. So he's in that long line. And as a 7-8 who you have to put in when somebody gets injured, fine. But as somebody in your top six, no.
Yeah, I'm with you. If he's a guy who's an extra, that's okay. If he's a guy who's got to play every night, not ideal. But I mean, I guess part of that right now is like Jake McCabe going out at an inopportune time for this team, especially as you're about to go on this stretch before the Olympics. So you got a lot of games and not a lot of time. And as you mentioned, a bunch of them on the road there. But quick reminder to people who are in the chat here right now, if you want to send in a super chat, you got a question, a comment, a concern, you got something for Mike, for myself, whatever it is, send in those super chats. Proceeds from our super chats go to Sick Kids Charity, Canada's #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada, #3 in North America. I will read, answer, respond everyone. I don't care statement, I don't care question, I don't care what it is. Send them in. I'll read all of them. Proceeds go to Sick Kids Charity. Mike, I want to read this one from you, and I want to get your thoughts on this because there's been a lot made of it over the last couple of weeks. John Gallagher writes in, have they finally learned to play the right way? So I'll pose that to you. Have they finally learned to play the right way, and this is who they are, or do you think that this is just a hot streak? They've put it together for a little bit, but you don't necessarily trust it.
I don't trust it yet. I mean, it's 8 games. They played half a season with their head up their rectum. And that's just the truth. I mean, this is a talented team. We knew that they were going to be different because Marner was gone, but they weren't as bad and as inconsistent and as defensively flawed as they have shown. I mean, remember, the first month and a half of the season, they had everybody. And then Stolarz got hurt, and then everybody, then Tanev got hurt on November the 1st against Philadelphia, and then the injuries really started to pile up. I mean, they're doing this without their leading scorer and supposedly their #1 goaltender and their 2 best shutdown defensemen. And their 6-0-2 in the last 8. So this particular lineup is playing the type of hockey that they have to get back in this race. And if you look throughout the NHL right now, the teams that are putting wins together. I mean, Buffalo, I mean, I don't know what the hell, what are they smoking? Because they've won 12 of the last 13. Seattle is 8-1-1 in their last 10. Tampa Bay won 8 in a row. And all these teams, like Seattle was at the bottom of the Western Conference. Now they're in the top 3. Toronto at 6-0-2, they're 1 point out of a wild card. All you have to do is string 7, 8, 9 games together and compile the points. You're right back in it. And, Toronto is right back in it.
6-0-2 in their last 8. But as you mentioned, the Buffalo Sabres just continue to win hockey games, Mike, a team you're very familiar with. They just keep winning hockey games. I said in the pregame show, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to make this the whole be-all, end-all. You get to the end of the season with football or at the end of the year where it's like your last 3 to 5 games and these scenarios come up, but I just wanted to make people aware of it. The Leafs win here tonight and Buffalo and Pittsburgh lose and you'd get yourself into a playoff spot, technically, which would have been it's a big deal because they haven't been there for a lot of this season. And the Maple Leafs win and the Buffalo Sabres pick up points and the Pittsburgh Penguins pick up points. So they remain ahead of them. I'm like, every time I look. But the other thing, though, Mike, is you have to pick up these points no matter what. You got to just kind of find ways to get through and pick up these points. So a lot of credit to them. I want to talk about the guy who had the memorable night of this one, and that would be Scott Laughton. 19-1 in the face-off dot. Penalty killing was just unbelievable when you look at that 5-on-3 that he was out there for, the 5-on-4 that he carried over to, and the work that he did. And then you look at the shorthanded goal that he scores to tie that thing up. I thought Scott Laughton was a spark plug. I thought he was a guy who was bringing energy from the opening puck drop to the final buzzer, despite the fact that the team was kind of sleepy early on. He was a guy who just never let that be the case. And I would like to say, or I would think a lot of people, so I should say, would look at this one and think, yeah, well, it's because it's against his former team, but that's just who Scott Laughton is. You look at the last little while, every night he's going no matter what. Quiet game, Scott Laughton's going. Down in the game, Scott Laughton's going. With a lead, Scott Laughton is going. And again here tonight, he starts the game that way and he finishes the game that way, gets the game-tying goal. And you look at the overtime period, Fogo, get on, take the face off, get the hell off, and he wins them each and every time. He had a monster night here tonight, and I want to give him the credit and the flowers that he deserves after this one.
Well, first of all, I'm very happy for him because he got the taste of both ends of the Philadelphia fan spectrum. They gave him the TV timeout video, and he played there for a dozen years, and they gave him his props. And then he scores the tying goal, and they boo the hell out of him because he scored the tying goal, and he's no longer a member of the Flyers. I mean, that was great. But if you're talking about a turning point in this game, it was the 5-on-3, which I'm sorry, that is not a penalty on Stetcher. The guy stepped on his stick, but okay. So the 5-on-3. Wins the faceoff. They kill that off. Hildeby makes a couple great saves during the 5-on-3 and then gets 5-on-4, and they just about kill it off when he gets and it was a long shift. He was out there for over a minute and he scores the tying goal. So that was the turning. I mean, okay, obviously they only scored 2 goals, so the tying goal is a turning point, obvious. But I'm just saying that stretch where he's the penalty killer, he's the guy who wins the faceoffs, he's out there for the majority of the almost a minute and a half that they were killing the penalty, and then he scores the tying goal. That's heroic.
Yeah. I thought he had just a tremendous night, and you look at the usage that he's getting. You look at how Craig Berube's leaning on him over the last little while. Like that Florida game, we talked about it after. He's got the 3rd most minutes of all forwards in that game. You look at this one here tonight. There's a few guys who lead ahead of him. He finishes with 14 minutes and 4 seconds. Nyes plays 20 minutes and 40 seconds, the most of all forwards, and then Matthews into the 19s, and a couple guys to 17, 16 13, etc. But he's still up there, 14 minutes here tonight. I thought he looked really, really good. And it's nice to see because you're now getting the depth. You're getting depth from this team in a way that you've never gotten before. Think about what he does for you and the elements he brings, and then compare that to what your bottom sixes have looked like in years past. That's part of it here, Mike, that I'm looking at this team and believing in a whole lot more, because if your top six can figure it out and be a lot more consistent, the way your bottom six can impact the game, we just talked about that third line. We talk about what Scott Laughton can bring to the table. I like what Lorentz can do. He's more of a guy who can kind of just blend into a game more than anything. But again, a penalty killer, a guy that you can have out there and trust for the most part defensively. He can bring some offense, I kind of say, like a little bit. It's not like it's impossible. He's not David Kampf when it comes to getting cross center. But this is a team that has a legitimate bottom six. They have a legitimate bottom six. When you get William Nylander back, if you can get all four lines rolling, it's a forward group that is very, very hard to contain and match up lines 1 through 4.
Leaf fans have an issue with what the Leafs gave up for the players they acquired at the deadline. I understand that.
And it's fair.
It's fair. I had heard the rumors of them trading for Laughton. I have friends that I do a podcast with who cover the Flyers, and there was a lot of heat. There was a lot of Toronto scouts in Philadelphia before the trade. And when the talk was there, I had no problem with Laughton. I had a problem with giving up a first-round pick. It's a top 10 protected first-round pick and Nikita Gurbiankin on top of that. And I thought that was a little bit too much, but we have to go back to what the deadline was. And Brock Nelson had been traded from the Islanders to Colorado, and they got, I think it was a first-round pick in Cal Ritchie, which is a big price, and the Leafs were sort of stuck. If we want to get a center, we're going to have to give up a first-round pick, and that's what they did. Now, I think the way he's played since he came back and the fact that they gave up a first-round pick, I would not be surprised if he gets signed during the Olympic break to an extension, because they can't let him walk away. Then they'd be giving up a first-round pick for a guy who's going to walk in free agency. And centers, I mean, look at what Christian Dvorak got from the Flyers, 5 years at over $5 million. He's okay, but defensively he's not great. Faceoffs, he's not fantastic. He works well with Zegras, and that's why he got that deal. And Alex Wenberg in San Jose got $6 million for 3 years. I'm not saying that Laughton should get anywhere close to either one of those, but he's probably going to end up being a $3.5 to $4 million player. And I think Treliving has got to sign him, because otherwise you gave up a first-round pick for a 1-year rental.
Okay, let taking ourselves out of the game then, Mike, are you okay with that contract if they do end up having to sign that? Does that concern you at all, that there's going to be that pressure and that probably does come to fruition?
No, well, I mean, they've got a couple scenarios here where they have to worry. I mean, Bobby McMahon is probably going to score 20 goals. He's a UFA.
Yeah.
He's
playing on the first line right now, which is rocking too.
Right, exactly, and he's going to continue to score goals because he's been a fit with Austin Matthews. So you got to worry about that. You got to worry about if you want to, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this but the guy played 23 minutes tonight. Troy Stetcher is a UFA. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm saying, well, he's a great fit on the bottom pairing. You don't have to worry. I mean, he's a right shot bottom pairing defenseman who tonight played 23 minutes and 25 seconds. So, this is now the issue here though is, does Brad Treliving have the authority to sign these guys to extensions? Because if they miss the playoffs, is his job on the line just as much as Craig Berube's? And is Keith Pelly going to say, "Oh, sure, sign that guy for 3 years or 4 years"? I don't know. That's in the boardroom at MLS and E. So I'm not sure, but I know that if they let these guys walk away for nothing, like Alex Tuck in Buffalo, you can't let him walk away for nothing. Either he signs a contract or you trade him. You can't let these guys walk away for nothing. And if the Leafs are in a playoff race, you're not going to trade. You're not going to trade McMahon. You're not going to trade Stetcher, and you're not going to trade Laughton.
Yeah, that has been a problem for this team as well. That was one reason, as also just a note on top of that why I wasn't as upset with the moves and the costs of them. Still, again, understanding it was expensive to pick up Laughton, it was expensive to pick up Carlo, but it was they had term. They're like they're not signed for 8 years and you've got them for the rest of their lives, but they had more runway on their deals and more opportunity to get seasons out of them than just, hey, you get these guys for a couple of months. If they don't work, see what you can do in the offseason. Because if that was the case with Scott Laughton last year and you picked him up at the end of his contract in the last year, you're basically relying upon, hey, you're from around here, like you really love it here, right? You want to come back and play here again, right? Like that's because that's what you're down to, because it wasn't the greatest fit out of the gates. I think Scott Laughton struggled a little bit. I think Berube struggled with where he fit and where he could play and who he could play with. But now you get a little bit extra room out of these guys. You get more of an opportunity, and it opens things up because now you see a different player in Scott Laughton. You're seeing potentially a different player in Brandon Carlo, and that's because you had extra term on those deals when you traded for the guys. Again, not saying the trades and the cost is justified, but it helps.
Well, I mean, remember, Brandon Carlo had 2 more years on his contract, and Boston retained money. So giving up a first round pick for him, and everybody, and don't get me wrong, I like Fraser Minton as a player. I think he's going to be a good pro. He's a smart kid. He's but he's never going to, I don't think he's ever going to score 30 goals. I think he's a third line center. And that was the issue, is that Scott Laughton was sold by every insider and by everybody as, there's your third line center. Now, he's not your third line center. He's a really good fourth line center. And that's the problem, is giving up a first round pick for a fourth line center good value? No, it's not. But that doesn't mean that he's not somebody that they should keep. I mean, a fourth line center who plays the type of minutes that he plays, that wins faceoffs, that kills penalties, that's valuable. But they paid the price of what a third line center was.
Yep.
And I think that was the miscalculation. But when you're trading for Brandon Carlo and it's a right shot defenseman with 2 years left on his contract at under $4 million, sign me up, because that's what they've been looking for to pair with Morgan Riley for almost the balance of his entire career. How many jokers like Ron Hainsey and TJ Brody, who was good for the first couple years of the contract, did they pair him with? And now he can't play 27 minutes anymore like he played against the Islanders, but you put him with a Morgan Riley, but you put him with a good defenseman, a right shot defenseman, and you see what happened tonight. They played 20 minutes together. They were fine. They 8 minutes, and Troy Stetcher played 23, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson played 25 minutes. Insane.
I was laughing the other day, Mike. This is just a side note on this. I was laughing the other day because do you know which player in the game, I don't know if you heard me say it, which player in the game against Florida played more minutes than Troy Stetcher? He played the second most minutes in that game. You know who played more? One guy. Gustav Forsling.
Oh, yeah.
The other greatest waiver claim of all time.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now Seth Jones is out, and probably when Ekblad was in the penalty box after the Domi fight, he probably he's gonna play 26, 27 minutes until Seth Jones gets back. But the fact that Troy Stetcher, and he's a journeyman guy. The fact that he played for a team that is so bad on defense, and they waive him, and he plugs in here and plays the way he's played. Are you telling me that Stan Bowman doesn't regret putting him on waivers? Because I would think, with the state of their blue line, and Evan Bouchard being a great offensive but a turnstile defensively, you're telling me you don't have a space for Troy Stetcher? I think you're wrong.
Yes, I would agree with you. I do also think that there's two factors that help Troy Stetcher look and look the way he does and be as effective as he is in Toronto. One, that is exactly what they needed when we talked about the lack of puck movement, their inability to transition, their inability to break out. How often you looked back on the back end, whether it was retrieving pucks, if it was just turning pucks over and then getting up ice in transition quickly. Like, he fits that, which is something that they were really, really struggling with, which I think helps. The other piece is... And I mean, I guess maybe part of this is just because I don't know as much, but I look at that Edmonton blue line and don't think that there's a guy that he pairs with the same way as pairing with Jake McCabe or Oliver Ekman-Larsson that changes the way drastically changes the way he looks, because he can fit in with Simone Benoit for like a game or two, and you're probably like, that's fine. But if he's playing with Ekman-Larsson, if he's playing with Jake McCabe, I'm sitting here on my couch being like, put them out there. Like, get those guys on the ice more often. And I just don't know that those guys exist to play with Troy Stecher the same way in Edmonton. So I think it kind of is like the perfect storm of stuff. That being said, it benefits the Leafs tremendously because it's been an unbelievable pickup.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to tell me that he's not as good as Troy Emberson or Alex Regula, I mean, those are the guys who are the bottom pairing guys for the Oilers. But you give Brad Treliving credit there that he knew him. He's been around the league forever and he fit in. And maybe the left right thing is overblown sometimes. I don't think it is. And the fact that he's a right shot and he fit in well with McCabe, and he doesn't do too much. He knows what, get rid of the puck. He can lug it every once in a while. He'll take his chances. He'll score the occasional goal. And with McCabe out, the Ekman-Larsson fits in, and that was basically the minutes eating pair tonight. I mean, he fits in. Now, when they get McCabe back and they get Tanev back at the end of the year, hopefully, then Stecher plays with OEL on the bottom pairing. I mean, just think of that. Your minutes eaters tonight, your number one pairing basically will be your bottom pairing, because it'll be McCabe and Tanev and Riley and Carlo. If they could ever get everybody back, then they would be in a really good spot.
Well, that's the point that I've been making here too about where the health factors into this and the Olympic break. This stretch is crucial to this team leading up to the Olympics, because reality is you're probably going to miss Jake McCabe for a couple more. Right. You're potentially going to miss Nylander. Like Craig Berube said today, Nylander could play on Saturday. I am almost blocking out anything this fucking team says right now, Mike, because it's just like, I don't know. Like, people in the earlier, I did a pregame video and I brought those comments up, and people are like, well, why don't you believe that he would play then? I'm like, because why would I? Like,
because Anthony Stolarz is day to day and he's been
on November 13th. Yeah. So
give me a break.
So it's just like, who cares? Like, I'm not looking at any of these things until the guy comes back. Like, when I see him and I see David Alter or you text me and say Nylander is skating in a regular jersey or Nylander took line rushes, that's the second I will be ready to accept that he's coming back to the lineup. But the point is, you might miss him again on Saturday. You're probably missing McCabe for a little bit. Tanev's out long-term. Dakota Joshua's out long-term. And then you look at goaltending. Okay, well, you don't know about Anthony Stolarz, and Dennis Hildeby has been amazing, and I mean, he deserves all the credit because, again, another awesome night for him. He doesn't face the craziest workload in terms of total shots, but he had to make some amazing saves tonight against Philly. You just need to keep what's happening right now going, and you're missing big names to get to the Olympic break, because if you dip off here before the Olympics, your season could be over. If you stay where you are or even elevate your play and put on some type of run like the Sabres did that is in your backyard and you get to see this run, you're potentially sitting in a playoff spot going into the Olympic break. And then who comes back after that? I don't know the extent of Dakota Joshua's injury, but Maybe he comes back then after the Olympics. Maybe Jake McCabe is 110% at that point. Maybe Stolarz is back. Maybe Nylander is full healthy. And you get to look at who will be playing in the Olympics, I should point out. But you get all these guys who get time to rest. It's weeks of rest. It's not 4 days of an all-star break. It's weeks of rest that these guys get to go, recover. And if you can get yourself into a playoff spot or sitting right at it, and Brad Treliving doesn't panic here before the Olympic break, you can be sitting nice and comfortably and sitting in a position where you're going to develop some real quality depth on this team, whether it's from your goaltending to your defense. As you just pointed out, a healthy defensive group features OEL and Troy Stetcher on your third pair. And then you get to your forward lines and everybody slots down a little bit and everybody can maybe perform higher than the level that they're slotted in at. You could be in a really, really good position coming out of that. But this stretch leading up to the Olympics is crucial to the future of this season and what this could turn out to be.
I wouldn't rush Nylander back unless he's absolutely 100%. I wouldn't rush him back against the Vancouver Canucks, who I saw play in Buffalo on Tuesday. And Buffalo fell asleep with about 7-8 minutes left to go in the third period and allowed a really bad team who didn't have a number two, whose number two center was David Kampf, by the way, climbed to within 4-3 before they iced him away. I mean, the Leafs should be able to beat the Vancouver Canucks without Nylander, but they're going to need him on that 4-game road swing west of the Mississippi, especially the game against Colorado. And I think one of the things that was smart finally in terms of the Leafs maintaining some structure when it comes to their goaltending is it made no sense to play Wall after playing him against Florida, to play him on Thursday and then play Hildeby on Saturday, because with this, Wall gets 3 full days of rest before they start him against the Canucks, and then Hildeby and Wall will split the back-to-back. So you cannot play Wall 8 of 9 games like you did before he got hurt. That he made the mistake with Stolarz last year. He made the mistake with Wall this year and Stolarz this year, playing them to death. And you can't do that with these guys, especially Stolarz, but also Wall, because Wall has durability issues.
Yeah, yes, good point as well, especially about the upcoming schedule here and where these guys are headed with some of these back-to-backs, the travel that they're going to experience, and how many games they're just going to play over the next couple of weeks leading up to the Olympic break. Mike, one last thing for you, and then I'll get you out of here. I appreciate you spending as much time with me here tonight as you did. I also appreciate the fact that I see you popping around in the chat from time to time there as well, so thank you. But I got one question for you on the way out. It's something that has been a positive. Looked a little bit... looked like it's got some coolant on it over the last couple of games, and again tonight wasn't something I was in love with, and that's the power play. What'd you make of how they looked tonight? It's a weird situation because they got really, really hot since Mark Savard was fired. I look at process over results a lot of times. Last couple of seasons, I've looked at them and said, yeah, they scored goals on the power play, but did it look that great? And a lot of times it didn't. They just have more skill than the other team. I think part of it is I look at Dallas, I look at Colorado, I look at Edmonton, I look at the way their power plays operate, and I think, well, that's a power play that's hard to stop. They don't just score. They're really hard to defend and stop. The Leafs doesn't a lot of times. Tonight, the power play to me, it looked a little stale. So I guess I'm going to ask you pinpoint tonight and then big picture as well. What are your thoughts on the power play and maybe more specifically what we saw tonight against the Flyers?
Well, I mean, we saw that sort of sugar high that they had after Savard was fired, where they were going at a 40% clip, and you know that wasn't going to last. And I saw Frank Corrado from TSN, sort of analyze what the Leafs have been doing, and essentially they were using a typical 1-3-1 structure when it came to Savard, and it was stale. It was very stagnant. They weren't moving around. They were all standing around. It was very easily defended. Then with Sullivan coming in, they've changed their entries into the zone. They've, that you saw some of that tonight where everybody's on the one side and they throw it to the other side.
Zone
But
entry is the big one, by the way. That's a noticeable change for these guys. Big
yeah,
difference.
yeah. So I mean that's it. But I think the problem tonight, and I think I'm right that they haven't scored a power play goal in the last 3 games. The problem tonight they really missed William Nylander because everybody's zeroing in on Matthews. Everybody knows Michelli, all he's going to do is pass. So it's sort of Marner disease. If you don't respect what Michelli is going to do because he's not going to shoot, even though he's got a good shot. So he's trying to feed it to Nyes. He's trying to feed it to Tavares in front of the net. He's trying to feed it back to Riley or to Matthews. He's not interested in shooting. So that's one less guy you have to worry about. So really it's a 4-on-4 when it comes to Michelli being out there. So that's where they need another trigger guy like Nylander. And I think once he gets back and you have him on one side and Matthews on the other, then I think you'll be cooking again.
That's a good point. It's a double-edged sword there. It's like, Matthews, the better he plays offensively, the better the power play does. But the better he plays offensively, the more the penalty kill focuses on Austin Matthews. And without William Nylander, there's no threat that can pose, like a counterbalance to it where it's like, oh shit, we got to watch out for the guy on the other side of the ice as well. It's like, well, it's either going to be Matthews, and if it's not him, it's not Morgan Riley because it's never been Morgan Riley, and it never will be Morgan Riley because there's a sniper in the stands effectively who's told him, if you shoot the puck, I'm going to take you out. And then you've got Michelli, who's pass only guy there as well, and then you got Nyes and JT who are in bumper and net side. Well, if Matthews has the puck on one side of the ice, they can kind of cut the ice in half, more or less, which hurts you. But if it's William Nylander on the other side, much different situation. So good point, Mike. Good point.
They're playing. The Flyers, and you have to realize these teams have advanced scouting. They have video, and they know just what I said in terms of zone entry with the Leafs. So they're ready to neutralize that. So it's not rocket science. I mean, they know what's going on, and also like they're playing basically a diamond formation where the one guy's on top, and that guy is not worried about Morgan Riley because Morgan Riley is not a good shooter from the point. He's a good distributor of the puck. He doesn't have a big shot, and he never has had a big shot, but he can pass. But the problem is, if they know he's going to pass, then they just sit back, plug up the middle, and sort of sit back on Matthews' side, and then you've neutralized the one weapon right now that they have on the power play. So when Nylander gets back, it'll be easier, or hopefully easier, for them to have sort of a multiple offensive attack on the man advantage.
All right, Mike, I appreciate you spending the time here with me today. As always, great to hear from you. Before I let you go, where can everybody find you, and what are you working on right now?
Well, for Buffalo Sabres coverage, I'm writing for the Hockey News, and for the Maple Leafs coverage, and I'm sure everybody here is interested in, go to hockeyhotstove.com. I write daily about the Leafs. You can agree or disagree with my point of view, but just come and check it out.
Come find out whether you agree or disagree. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I will talk to you soon, whether it's on air or off air, but hope to have you back on the show soon.
Anytime, Zach. Thank you.
There you go. Mike in Buffalo. As always, enjoy the conversation with Mike here on the post game. Somebody to get to shoot back and forth with during Leafs games as we see stuff going on around Toronto Maple Leafs news, updates, all that kind of stuff. So Mike, I always enjoy having on the post game and getting to go back and forth with on Leafs conversation. So shout out to Mike for joining us here. There's a lot of stuff to get to here still on the post-game show. A lot more to get to from tonight. A lot more to get to, whether it's our segments, best bets, grades, play of the game, all of that. So we'll dig into everything here on the post-game, including super chats and likes. For those of you who don't know or aren't familiar with the show, if you're coming for the first time, welcome. Make sure to subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. You can find us, Leafs Nation After Dark, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you want to listen after, if you're in the drive, going to work and you want to hear about the show, or hear the show, excuse me, and hear what we thought about the game and hear what the callers thought about the game, or you just want to hear chaos of people yelling back and forth at each other, this is the spot to do so. So check us out, Leafs Nation After Dark, wherever you get your podcasts. As well, Leafs Morning Take, Jay Rosehill, Nick Alberga, right here on this channel. If you've heard of Leafs Morning Take, if you've heard of Jay Rosehill, if you've heard of Nick Alberga, this is where they are as well. It's not a coincidence that you've come across this channel. They are also here, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday to Friday, breaking down what happened the night before, what's happening in the upcoming days. They have special guests on. Chris Pronger was on the other day. Insiders breaking down everything happening around the Toronto Maple Leafs. So make sure to check that out as well. Every set of 50 likes. This is just a reminder to people, which I'm grabbing right now. Every set of 50 likes here on the postgame show. People said, I had this pointed out the other day, and I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. Somebody said, this is a shtick, a gimmick, that you do the smelling salts. Yeah. It is. That's the point. Every set of 50 likes to do the smelling salts. 50, 100, 150, 200. So you want to see me do smelling salts? Like the stream. Keep liking the stream. Send this to your friends. Tell the people in the chat to like the stream. Get everyone involved. Let's get the stream out and about. Send it to people and like the stream. We have 100 likes here on the post game, so we'll have to do 2. But for now, I'm going to give you guys the first one. There you go. There's the smelling salts. For 50, we'll have to get ourselves one more at bare minimum. But you guys keep liking the stream, and we'll get more for you guys here on the post game show. The other thing we do here as well is take callers. And that we will start to do here right now. Everybody gets between like 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how it's going. If you only want 30 seconds, if you want a minute, you get in here, give your take, give your thoughts, and you can get out. We've had that over the last little while as well, people getting involved, but I want to hear from you guys in the chat. It is pinned at the top of the YouTube chat. Just a quick note, I know people on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram are watching. If you want to call into the show, there's unfortunately no way to do so via those platforms for me to give you guys the link. So come on over to YouTube, Leafs Nation 401, the Leafs Nation. Check it out there. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. But with that, let's get to our first caller of the night. Let's get to Mando on the line. Mando, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Zach. Thanks for having me again.
Doing? Thanks
Good.
for
How you
joining.
doing? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, doing good. It was a good game. Kind of a boring game, you know. It was wasn't as fun, obviously, like the previous couple games when we saw a lot of offense and cleaner passes. This was kind of getting bogged down. Breakouts weren't that great, especially towards the end of the first period. It was, you're waiting for that goal to come, but never came until our friend Scott Laughton did his thing. But it was obviously the end was totally exciting. All overtimes are really exciting, but this particular overtime was one of the best for excitement. So yeah, it was overall really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to just start out with topic and with your commentary. It would be the goalies. So there's this now we have a situation where Hildeby looks legit. Everyone probably should agree that he's somebody that can definitely be a 1A or 1B. Maybe not, if not this season, the next season, but there Hildeby is proven to be a very effective goalie. Now, my opinion, and I think it's pretty good, harder said than done, is how about look at trading Stolars, because obviously now maybe harder to trade because of his age, because of his his inability to stay healthy. But what do you think? I think that's the only trade play that Tree has. If they are going to make a trade, is they've got 3 goalies, and which one? I think it should be Stolars, but I'm curious to see what you think about that.
Well, I'll tell you this: it wouldn't be Hildeby. I think that that is the one aspect that you look at with this group and with this team, and you think about trying to not get rid of guys that can help you in the future. That is one of them. You know, Wall and Stolarz are the older pieces. I would not want to get rid of Dennis Hildeby. Who knows how this thing goes over the next couple of weeks, months, whatever. I still think between Wall and Hildeby, Wall is your number one, but I would rather not move him. The other aspect to think about here is you did just extend Anthony Stolarz to a contract that doesn't even kick in until the end of this season. So potentially a difficult situation, but I do think it does provide you with a little bit more flexibility, having three goaltenders who are at least NHL caliber that you could look at on any given night, on any given occasion, and think, yeah, okay, they could play and they could give us a win, because there's a lot of teams around the league right now who could use goaltending. Case in point, a team that has gone to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row, traded the guy who got them there for another guy that they were expecting or hoping could get them over the hump, and he immediately went on injured reserve. And that would be the Edmonton Oilers. So, you know, it's there's teams that are going to be looking for goaltending, wanting goaltending, and with that, you do have some flexibility, and it does open up the option for you to maybe take calls and see what teams are willing to offer you. Because if someone's going to give you a middle to top six player for a goaltender because they're desperate, or if someone's going to give you a really young, promising piece, or if someone's going to give you draft picks for your goaltender, how can you not entertain that? I see Joe Hill saying goaltending depth will be the saving grace of a team that wants to get them over the hump. I don't disagree with that, and I think you're seeing that pay dividends right now in having Stolarz, Wall, and Hildeby, because at the beginning of the season, you didn't have Wall, and it was Stolarz and Hildeby only. And then they come back, and then one of them goes out again, and then he comes back, and then one of them goes out again. Like, you're rotating through these guys. So having the depth helps. But if you get to the deadline and someone is desperate, why would you not entertain the call? I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm not saying ship the guy out, but I think that if somebody calls you and offers you something, why not say, okay, I'll listen?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's could be the only play to get a significant piece like what you just mentioned. Is dangle a goalie, and again, I agree. Hildeby's young, and he's still on the upward trajectory, right? Because he's trending up still, in my opinion. He could overtake Wall here, and I think Wall still has ability. Obviously, if he stays healthy. Mind you, his absence earlier this year had nothing to do with health, but his health, he seems durable. At least for this year, Wall is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. One other thing, it's funny you had Mike in Buffalo. I enjoy his conversations. But one thing I want to mention is Justin Hall was protected over Jared McCann, and I think people forget about this. This was the expansion draft?
Yep. It was Justin Hall and Alex Kerfoot.
Yeah, wouldn't a Jared McCann be very useful in the top six right now?
No kidding. And by the way, that's
God.
a player Seattle's willing to listen on right now. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And then the list of defensemen that Mike missed was Martin Marincin. That's my favorite. Jake Gardner.
Marty Marincin was, oh my God, Marty Marincin, watching him play was something that used to make my brain want to explode.
Yeah. But other than that, one thing about Cowan, I've really noticed is he transports the puck very effectively through neutral ice. Like, it's almost like, okay, you take that aspect that Cowboy has. Obviously, he's obviously in an upward trend, And then you have Michelli, who's really good on the half wall. Like he just circles right. Like he's able to hang on to the puck. You have to give him that. Michelli's able to hang on to the puck down low.
Mhm.
So it's almost like you superimpose those two players and you almost get a Marner. It's kind of funny, but you don't obviously. But there's
Yeah.
aspects of both. I see that
It's Moneyball, Mando. We're building them in the aggregate. We build them in the aggregate.
And I don't know what to do with Michelli, to be honest. Like, I think he's gonna, and he's carrying $3 million cap. So, and like you said, there's gonna be guys that need to be signed. I think Mike or you were talking about guys that need to be signed. So, I'm not sure about Michelli, but he's good. Maybe he can be dangled too. So. But
Yeah.
other than that, that's what I got for you tonight. Well, I think I agree with Mike. Before the Olympics, these games before the Olympics are gonna really make or break this team. We'll see what happens. I think all is good. Still, we're still trending good.
Yep, I would agree with you. I appreciate the call here, Mando. Thank you for doing this. Look forward to hearing from you pretty much every post game show here. Now you've become a regular on the After Dark, and for that I appreciate it, and I'm sure the chat does as well.
Awesome. Thanks again. See you guys.
Thank you, Mando. There you go. We'll get to the next callers here in a minute. I see we've got a bunch lined up here, and I want to make sure everybody gets to call into the show here tonight and give their thoughts on the game, whether they liked it, if they've got guys they liked, they didn't like, if they heard something through the first hour of the show that they're not enjoying or they disagree with and they want to express their opinions. I want to hear everybody and what they've got to say. The one thing that I'll just say here quickly, Mike brought up, and I thought about it because Mando just brought this up. Mike brought up the fact that you would put Matias Michelli into the bottom. The problem that I have, like when William Nylander returns, the problem that I have with the idea of putting Matias Michelli into a bottom six role when Nylander returns is that I think he's like a top six or nothing guy. And I think what you're seeing out of him right now, you'd rather have him in your lineup than not, because I don't know that he can help you that much in the bottom six and playing a bottom six role, and particularly a fourth line role, because you don't want to touch your third line. You're not going to touch the first line unless you decide to put Michelli on Matthews' line, which I think Matthews does like what Domi's doing right now, so you're not going to break that up. But maybe unless you can find a way to get Michelli into that first line and be the guy who can be the playmaker with Austin Matthews, I don't think he fits in the bottom. So then maybe do you look at putting Nyes onto the line with Scott Laughton? Because again, my counterpoint to people saying, are you dumb? You want to put the guy on the fourth line, where I brought up Nylander going to the fourth line. The thing would be, no, it's not your fourth line. They don't become your fourth line with that guy out there. They play around 2 minutes more, a minute more. Scott Laughton elevates. Steven Lorentz elevates. Maybe you replace Steven Lorentz with somebody else and you shake something else up there. But I would rather have Michelli in my top six playing the way that he is and maybe playing with Nylander or playing with Austin Matthews than putting him down to the fourth line. Okay, let's get now to our next caller here. I'm not sure who this is. I think maybe this is Mark from Oshawa, given the fact that last time Mark from Oshawa called in, it said iPhone, and this time it says iPhone as well. Is this Mark from Oshawa? Who do we have on the line? iPhone is what we have listed here.
Sorry, Zach. It's Mark. Yeah, it used to say Lexi last week when I called in for the first time.
All right, there you go. Mark, what's up?
Not bad. How are you? Sorry, I had you on mute. I was talking to you and I couldn't hear you.
It's all good. I appreciate that, because the one thing I ask of people if they're sitting in there waiting is to please put yourself on mute, because everybody else can hear you, especially when you're sitting there waiting, so everyone else can hear. So if you're waiting, please put yourself on mute. So Mark, that's respectful. That's fair. I get it. You're all good.
Yeah.
How are you feeling after this one?
I thought it was a good win. Honestly, I saw the last 10 minutes of the first, and I didn't even know. I think it was in the first period that the Leafs were on a power play that I didn't even know. But I was going to say that I found in the third period the Leafs weren't playing as hard. Like, I mean, I could be wrong. Like, I just didn't see the push in the third period. When the Leafs were playing in the first and second, I thought they had more drive. In the third period, I really didn't see it until Laughton scored and tied the game. Or
Really?
Sorry, McCowan. Sorry, my mistake.
Laughton tied the game. Cowan
Okay.
scored the OT winner.
Sorry,
Really,
yeah.
I disagree. I think that they pushed hard in the third. I don't think it was the cleanest game all the way around. I think that was both teams that were involved in some sloppy hockey and some stuff that the coaches, stylistically or systematically are going to come back and say that's not the best game ever. But I think that the Leafs picked it up as the game went on. I thought it was sleepy to start the game, Mark. I thought the first period was a period where it was like, not much intensity, not much energy going on. I'm not going to say effort because I do think they were bringing that, but it just kind of felt a little lackluster. The only thing that I'll kind of push your way, and maybe this is what you were seeing or where you feel this way, is they killed a bunch of penalties in the third period. I think they killed 3 penalties off. So maybe that was part of it, where you were watching them kind of back on their heels a little bit more and trying to get their way out of it. But I disagree. I thought it was the other way. I thought it was first period was slow. Second period took about 7-8 minutes to get into it. And then by the time you got to the third period, that was when it was really picking up the pace, and killing off those penalties actually kind of seemed to swing momentum in their direction.
Maybe it was the few beers that I had. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know what though? I did feel, I think somebody mentioned it in the chat though, but their power play, I thought they went back to playing perimeter hockey. Like, just, I could be wrong, but I thought it was too many passes more than shooting.
No, I would agree with you. So the first power play they went on, like, I write notes as just to kind of keep track of everything as it's going on. And the first power play they were on, I saying like to myself and writing down this, it was very perimeter. It was always on the outside.
Right.
There was no attacking the middle. There was no getting shots through and recovering. How many times did they shoot a puck or try to get a shot through, and it would get blocked or broken up, and it was Philly who picked up the rebound. It was never the Leafs recovering a rebound. It was never them getting pucks back and recovering chances. The first one they had was very, very rough. The second power play that they had, I thought it wasn't great, Mark. Again, still too perimeter, but I thought a little bit better. They tried to get into the middle, towards the middle of the ice a lot more. They tried to get to the more dangerous areas more than they did on the first time. It wasn't as much pass the puck around. There was more drive to the middle, but still not the best. So for the most part here, in the 2 power plays they had, not the greatest night on the power play for the special teams unit out there. Penalty kill, great. Power play, not so much.
Well, I'll give it for Laughton. Like, he played a good game, and it was just lucky. I'm not lucky, but I'm happy for him that he scored the winner and got the win for the Leafs. Because if anybody deserved that tonight, I thought it would have been him.
Yeah, Laughton with the tying goal.
Sorry, my mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Laughton with that tying goal, though. I mean, the way that he played throughout the 60 here tonight, I thought he looked amazing. Not just him, Malcolm D'Souza pointing out in the chat, great game by Hildeby as well. Hildeby was awesome. But this was like the Scott Laughton game to me. 19-1 in the face-off circle. He goes 95% on the draw. I thought Scott Laughton was awesome. For this to be his return to Philly and get the full Philly treatment where they boo him after he scores. They cheered him when he got the video tribute. It's just like a special night. That's exactly what Philly fans should be doing. That's exactly what he should be expecting Philly fans to do. And for him to show up this way here tonight, it was super cool to see, because this is a guy who he took a lot of flack when he got here to Toronto in the first place. Some people in this chat being part of that. And obviously, I think he also looked in the mirror and said, I haven't been as good as I should have been. and now to be performing this way and to have a night like this against his former team, you just got to feel good for the guy.
Just one last thing. I was just wondering, like, on your thoughts, why did they choose to play Hildeby tonight over Wall? Like, I honestly would have thought that Wall would have played tonight and I would have played Hildeby on Saturday against Vancouver. Like, I wasn't really sure why they did that.
So Mike in Buffalo laid it out when he got on here. There's a couple factors in this. So one is obviously looking at how they deployed the guys, over the last week or so. Wall has taken a lot more of the workload. I think part of that was the game that he got pulled in against Winnipeg. I think he played just over 20 minutes. I think maybe 24 minutes is the number that he was at before he got yanked, and Hildeby comes in. But Wall had played the game before that one, and then he played the next 2 games after that. This would have been, I believe, 3 straight games for Wall if he did play tonight. And then you go to Hildeby on Saturday. Okay, maybe that's fine. But, Mark, the thing you have to look out for in the schedule coming up is that they play a back-to-back. I think it's Monday, Tuesday against the Avalanche and I think Utah. So it's either Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday. But either way, when you see, what the progression of games is, I think it's Monday, Tuesday, what the progression of games would be, you would end up with Wall tonight, Hildeby on Saturday, and then you probably end up with Wall and then Hildeby again, whereas this way you can go with Hildeby tonight, Wall on Saturday, Hildeby Monday, Wall on Tuesday again, which gives you a little bit more opportunity to get your, probably at this point, your number one goaltender more reps and a little bit more rest in that stretch as well.
But would you have gone back-to-back with Wall? If I heard you correctly, do they not play Colorado back-to-back this week?
Yeah, they play Monday, Tuesday. So I agree with what they've done here. I agree that you go Hildeby, and then I agree that you go Wall on Saturday, you go Hildeby on Monday, and you go Wall on Tuesday.
I was just saying the reason I said Wall tonight because Philadelphia being in the conference, you need the points, right? Like, I'm not saying Hildeby didn't play great. Yep. I'm just saying Vancouver's not in our conference, so you could have played Wall tonight to steal the points, and then Hildeby Saturday, and then could have went either way. Like, I'm expecting clearly 4 points, but at minimal 3 out of 4 points for the next 2 games, right?
Yes. I understand what you're saying. The points are really, really important, but I mean, Mark, I guess the only thing would be the points are equally, if not more, equally important against every team based on where you're at right now. So I understand what you're saying, but I think that the coaching staff relies on, I think they trust Dennis Hildeby is the word I'm looking for. Relies, not, they are relying on him, but I think they trust Dennis Hildeby to go in there and be an adequate goaltender when it's not just Joseph Wall. I think that they trust that he can step up. I think they trust that he's not just a huge drop-off. So I think that's where you look at when it comes to going from Wall to Hildeby. They're not saying, hey, this from one goaltender to the next is like basically a death sentence. They feel pretty good about the guys, and every night, every point matters right now. So I don't mind this one. You got anything else for me here, Mark, tonight?
Just one quick thing. It's more of a thing, and then I'll let you go. When I first called last week, I was debating what to say because I was kind of scared, and the wife was yelling upstairs, "Don't be a pussy, just call in." So then I finally called in, said what I had to say, and then I had a million things to say afterwards. And then she's like, "See, there you go. Now you can call in every show, and Zach will listen to you talk." But
yeah, you
can.
Everybody can call in. You're welcome to call in every time, Mark. So I thank you again for calling in here tonight. But again, your wife's right. You can call in every time.
I try to do it on the weekends because I get up at 4 a.m. for work. But I'm no that Prague guy. Like I said, I mean, not to get into a whole thing and hold up other callers, but you were right on the ball last call or last game. Like I didn't find you racist. I know you're not. And I just want to leave it at that. Like I was on your side. Like I disagreed with what he had to say. That's all.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Look, you're welcome to call back in every single time, every show. I'm going to try to cut you off short here.
Yep.
Just wanted to know if there was anything else you had. And yeah, I mean, if there's more stuff you think about, bring it back on Saturday because we'll be doing the post-game show again then as well. So Mark from Oshawa, great
Thank
call
you.
here tonight. I appreciate it and look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Right. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, Mark. You too. There you go. Mark from Oshawa. Jumping on the post-game, giving his thoughts here. We got more callers to get to here as well. We did get more likes on the stream, which means more smelling salts. Over 400 people here on the post-game show. Liking, commenting, subscribing is just one more click away from where you're at watching this stream here right now. A lot of you in the chat possibly have forgotten to hit that like button. Maybe you've forgotten to subscribe to the channel, but it's as easy as clicking a button. You don't even have to do much. So hit that subscribe button, Leaf Station 401 right here on YouTube as well. If you're looking for podcast platform, Leaf Station After Dark, wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to subscribe here to the channel. More callers to get to, more segments to go through, more smelling salts to do. 147 here. This is the second one. This is for 100. And then if we get to 150, we'll do 150 here as well as some super chats. There you go. Callers in the chat, I do see you waiting. I'm going to get to every one of you. I just want to rattle off some super chats here quickly in the meantime. So let's start with these super chats. And a reminder, proceeds from our super chat do go to Sick Kids Charity, Canada's #1 children's research intensive hospital, #3 in North America. Let's start at the top here and rip through. Vintage Joe Hill, big win for the boys. Lots is my dog. I'm with you, Joe Hill. I love Scott Laughton. I would be happy if they announced an extension for Scott Laughton tonight. I would be overjoyed if I looked at my phone at some point here during this post game and Scott Laughton was extended. It's not going to happen, but I would be pumped up if that was the case. Scott Laughton is my dog. This fucking guy, Kilo James, again. I mean, the yin to my yang. I don't even know what other way to put it. That's the only one that was coming to my mind. Kilo James, I'm really enjoying this stream. You made my night. And also says, love the stream, Zach. Have a good night, everyone. Fucking guy. Every time. Come here, sending hate. Fuck this channel. Enjoying the stream. You made my night. Kilo, thank you for the super chats. I do thoroughly enjoy the comments every single time and the super chats. You're a dickhead. But I think based on your comments, you would appreciate my comment back towards you. And I appreciate the super chats. JD Anderson, who we'll get to coming up here shortly, says, we need Liljegren and Dermott to fix this team. JD, you say that on that call and you're blocked, brother. Gone forever. Vintage Joe Hill with another super chat. Vintage Joe Hill says, really looking forward to Willie getting back. He sees Austin heating up, and let's all be honest, Willie likes competing against AM in the goal count. Yeah, he does. It does seem to fire him up. The one thing that I would just say is, don't put them together. Keep them separate, because both guys, you want shooting. You want both involved. You want both being focal points of their line. Don't put them together again. Joe Hill, how about those Linus Ullmark rumors? Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave that for now. I don't know. Sens put out a statement. All I will say, whether you agree with them or whether you think it happened or not, who the hell knows? It's just rumors right now. All I will say is that statement by the Senators was fucking nuts. Nuts. That statement by the Sens was insane. Like, whether it is 0% true, 50% true, or 100% true, calling it's your own fan base. Like, this was not something that took off and spread like Leafs fans and Habs fans. Like, if you look at the accounts that were doing this, it's all Sens fans who are tweeting this and going and building this rumor and like perpetuating it. I mean, for the most part, the only way I saw this online today was like Sens fans tweeting it, and then Leafs fans and Habs fans and Red Wings and Panthers fans being like, y'all seeing what's happening with the Sens right now? And then you like go to Sens Twitter and they are just losing their marbles. And then like the Sens put out a PR statement and it's like, they called their own fans trolls and sickos and said this is not true. You're trying to tear our team apart. It was their own fan base. I've never in my life seen a PR statement like that. I don't know if for the rest of my life I will see another PR statement like that. Yeah, Luke says our players did not have those extramarital relations with those women. It was nuts. They're like, we deny this. You are trolls and sickos. Crazy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they put that out. Insane. I mean, I guess, like, being frustrated with it and putting that out there, like, fair, but, like, holy shit, you did not expect that from, like, a team account. They said they were sick. I gotta find the exact tweet. It's gotta be out there somewhere. But, like, let's just call this what it is. The Sens, I'm going to read this statement, actually, and then we'll get off of this, and I'm going to get to calls, because like this is a Leafs post game, but the super chat was warranted. Our organization was disappointed to read the completely fabricated and false stories that are spreading around social media about our hockey club. Linus is away from the team for personal reasons, and he has the entire organization's support. That's normally what people say in PR statements. We ask that people respect his privacy. We asked that people respect his privacy, but clearly that request was not heard by the lowest forms of trolls and sick people who scour the internet. Let me read that again. That request was not heard by the lowest forms of trolls and sick people who scour the internet. We are disgusted that outside forces are attempting to disrupt our hockey club. This statement will put an end to the ridiculous speculation that has spread online. Again, let me read the last part of this. This statement will put an end to the ridiculous speculation that has spread online. This PR statement is like what happens if you put a normal PR statement into ChatGPT and say, make it sound like Donald Trump. Like, this is what I would read from Donald Trump on his Twitter account or like Truth Social or some shit. This is the most Trump PR from an NHL hockey team of all time. I don't think anybody can ever top what we've just read. I should have been reading the whole thing doing this. I should have read the whole thing saying this with my hands like this. Our organization was extremely disappointed to read the completely fabricated and false stories that are spreading around social media. That's how this was written. Crazy PR statement. Anyways, more callers here on the line. Let's get to Jamie Richardson, who, among the other callers here, has been patiently waiting here on the post-game show. Jamie, what's up?
I enjoyed the game. I know they've been having problems on the road, so I'm happy that they're kind of getting it. But, I think they can figure it out. this road stuff. I think they can. And the only way that they're going to make the postseason is if they win here on the road. And if they do make the postseason, they're probably not going to have home ice advantage, so they will be playing good on the road going in the playoffs. So maybe that's positive.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they're going to make the playoffs at all, starting to figure this out on the road is going to be paramount. You know, Mike from Buffalo was talking about it earlier, the fact that they're one of the, I think he said second in the NHL. I think that's got to still be up to date, but I think they're at bare minimum a top 5 team at home here. Then you go on the road and they are last in the NHL in terms of their road record and win percentage and just in general how they perform on the road. So if you want to win games, if you want to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to figure this out on the road. And then once you get there, it's a good point, Jamie. The way that this season has gone, you're likely ending up in a position where you're not getting home ice advantage. So if you can't figure it out on the road, you're not going to have success in the playoffs if you do find a way to get there. Yeah.
I was going to talk about Stolarz and his availability, but it's already been touched on. I think that, that's a possibility of getting something for him. Either a prospect, if you can't get anywhere, like closer to the deadline, or if you need somebody because you might be in the playoffs, that's a possibility. I would definitely, like you said, entertain all calls on them.
Yeah, why not, right? Why not listen? Why not hear a call and hear what people have to say and want? Because there's going to be teams out there who are looking for goaltending. There's going to be teams who are in playoff spots or pushing for playoff positions or on the bubble, whether it's Western Conference teams, if it's Eastern Conference teams, they're going to be wanting or needing goaltending. And if this can continue and if Stolarz can come back and get healthy, you're going to have a little bit of depth here because you've got a guy in Akhtiamov who's coming up and is supposed to be really promising. You've got Dennis Hildeby who's stepped up in the absence of one of their main goaltenders and has filled in really nicely and been very trustworthy. You've got Joseph Woll, who's a guy that for the most part here you've been able to rely on. You've got Anthony Stolarz, who when healthy is typically a very good goaltender. And so when you look at that and you look at the fact that there's effectively 4 goaltenders who are coming through, you should be able to look at these guys and say, hey, if somebody calls and offers us something that's really big, why not? I wouldn't go out there and actively try to trade guys away. But if calls come up and somebody says, I'll give you this player for that goaltender, and it's something you can't refuse, why not?
Yeah, I mean, he also has a Stanley Cup on his. He's also won a cup, so there's another.
Yeah. And obviously, Bobrovsky was the goalie in that, which is fair, but he's there. He's been there. He's been around it. He played games. He backed up. Like, he saw the whole thing start to finish.
So, yeah. And Cowan, I think he's getting better all of the time. I still see he's a little gun shy, like on the backhand, kind of. He's not quite his shooting. He's a little, maybe he's grabbing his stick a little tight yet. He's not quite, comfortable as he can get. And I know it takes time. But
but I think he's been getting more comfortable. I think especially with that third line, confidence is growing because there was numerous times tonight, Jamie, that I thought he made a confident play. He made a confident move. He did this against He did this against Florida the other day as well, where he's trying things that you'd think like a young rookie who had been scratched for games, had his minutes taken away in different games. You'd think maybe he would not want to try stuff. Maybe he wouldn't want to try to toe drag the guy or put something through his legs or cut to the middle and try to take a shot. And you're seeing it a little bit more here now from him, where he's willing to take that risk. He's willing to take that risk. And I think that it can still improve. I think he has more to offer, so I understand what you're saying, but I do see it growing incrementally where he's making more of an effort.
Yeah. And I think also OEL needs to be on the power play.
I agree.
I think everybody's talking about that. I think it's just, if you shoot it harder, it can get through, but you can have a rebound.
I agree with you.
It's like a pass. It's like just here. He's just tossing it in.
Yeah, you know? And he's not a threat, so nobody has to take him seriously out there, where like they have to actually look at him and think, oh, we have to get out to the point quickly because 90% of the time he's not going to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. For sure. I agree with you.
Ottawa thing and the Ottawa thing. Yeah, I think that's crazy. I had worked with the Ottawa team in their arena when it first opened. So that's...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you do there?
I was on the ice crew in the conversion department.
Oh, okay.
The more nice. That I mean, nice. But I helped out on the ice making and all that. And
how was that experience?
It was fun. It's a lot. I mean, it's constantly things coming in. It's interesting. Like, I mean, I was a Leaf fan, and every time I work and the Leafs are on, it's maybe TMI, but I have my Toronto Maple Leaf boxers on underneath when I worked when the Leafs were down. Just a little fun thing to myself.
Always supporting.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, Jamie, anything else you got for us here tonight?
No, I think that's about it. But yeah.
Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. I'm happy to have you call back in anytime. Great hearing from you here tonight. And you enjoy the rest of your night there.
Thank you.
There you go. Jamie Richardson on the Postgame show. More calls to get to, so let's not keep people waiting here. He's been waiting for a while. I see him buzzing around in the chat there, trying to provoke me or egg me on. Let's get to our guy, JD Anderson Comedy, as he goes by in the chat. JD, what's up, brother?
How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good. I mean, this is a good win for this Leafs team. I don't think it's the greatest 60-minute effort. I've said that a few times here tonight, but you don't have your A-plus game every night. You don't play like you did against Florida every night. So what do you bring to the table when you don't? Do you quit? Do you wave the white flag? Tonight they didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. We know who the hero was tonight. And don't worry, I'm not going to bring up Liljegren or any of that shit here. I just got to have some fun with you. Fuck around.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, this would have been a 3-1 win. It wouldn't have gone to OT if they had Travis Dermott or Timothy Liljegren. I was waiting for that comment, JD.
No. Okay, so I made a bunch of notes because I've been gone for a while. I've got that latest strain of COVID and was in the hospital and shit. So I was out of commission for a month, but I was out of commission for a month, but I've been watching all the shows, watching the games, keeping up with you guys. So,
Glad to hear you're doing better, by the way. Glad to hear you're doing better. Because the last time you called in, you were sick, and then we didn't hear from you for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I just started to get it, but it got really bad. I was having problems breathing and stuff. So I don't recommend anybody gets this latest strain of COVID. It's just fucking brutal. But
Fair enough.
Yeah, on from that. I got some notes that I made from tonight's game there. It was a sloppy game. It wasn't a masterpiece by any stretch. But the positives are, start with the positives of it. I love the fact that at least the team showed a lot of heart tonight. I mean, we knew that Scotty was going to go in there with a bit of jam and stuff like that, and we were all hoping that he was going to lead the charge. It was looking pretty bad until the final moments and stuff like that. But just I thought the whole team really, after they kind of got halfway through the first and got their legs in them and stuff, really rallied behind them. Scotty came up big there, obviously, to tie it up and get it to OT.
Yep.
I think the effort level was pretty decent. The energy maybe was a little bit low, and like I said, it was a bit sloppy. But it was good to see that they had some heart, they had some drive, and it seems like cohesively the team is starting to gel. And I know a lot of Leafs Morning Take and a bunch of the different podcasts that I watch talk about the team not loving each other enough, not having enough camaraderie and whatnot. And it seems like that's finally starting to come together. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
You know what? It's a good point. I do think it's starting to come together, which is crazy because I think, I mean, like, hand up, man, I was leading the charge in that with Rosie and with Alberga. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like you and I might have had conversations about that during that stretch earlier on as well, JD. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like that, where it was times where it was just like, they were just guys doing their jobs. They weren't players, like they weren't a team. They weren't guys who loved each other and would go to war for each other. And then, a month ago or a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point, you could say like there were times where they would just quit on each other, and it doesn't feel the same way now. There's guys who lay it on the line for a shift, for a penalty kill, for blocked shot, to save an empty netter, to score a late goal. Like Morgan Rielly diving across the crease and making that play. That's just one small example. It's the guys sticking up for each other after whistles and in scrums and going after guys and trying to get revenge, in the Florida game like we saw. Laughton takes that hit. Okay, Rosie talked about it where he's like, I don't mind it that much that they didn't fight because they kind of responded physically after. Bobby McMahon takes a run at Brad Marchand. It was like the hit parade started to come in for the Leafs. Like, it's still maybe not as much as you like to see it, where, the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning, a guy taps Andrei Vasilevsky and it's 5 guys with their gloves up 10 feet in the air and they're chasing the guy down. It's not quite to that level, but you're seeing more buy-in from it. And I think part of that is just having these heart and character guys here from training camp. They used to try to bring them in at deadline and be like, okay, now let's fix this. Now let's have some guts. And it was like, well, these guys just got here. Like, what are they going to do? It started off piss poor, but it feels like it's being built in a little bit. Last thing I'll say, JD, on this is maybe I'm reading too much into it, and maybe this doesn't actually matter, but I played team sports. I don't know if you did or not, so I'm not going to say, and you can speak to that as yourself, but I'm sure a lot of people in the chat who have gone through some of this as well can speak to teams that they played on that were or were not successful. One of the things that I look at is like the post-game videos that they put out, which are obviously edited, but what is the reactions to guys when they get the belt? How fired up for each other are the players? Because a lot of times in the past, I would look at them and they'd be like, the belt goes to so-and-so for this tonight. And everyone's like, yeah. And then it's like, okay, video ends. And it's like, well, that was good, I guess. Like, what the fuck just happened? Now I watch the videos, and the other day, it's like a Tuesday against Florida. Matthews gave the belt to Matias Michelli. He's like, the guy had it on a string tonight, and the whole room's like, yeah, like going nuts. And it's like, okay, that's a small piece, but you can tell these guys get fired up about that stuff. Nick Robertson in the Devils game where the big boys don't play, Matthews and Nylander, they're on the bench banging the boards, yelling at each other, getting guys fired up. The win song that they played against the Panthers, they played it back to back in the room. Everyone's rallying behind, come on Eileen, like they've got a good win song. People are buying it. Like, some of those things feel just a little bit different than what we felt before. And that all adds to your point. It's a long way of me saying, I agree with you. It feels like this is changing from what it was, not just the beginning of this season, but in seasons past as well.
Yeah, totally agree. It obviously we're not there yet, quote unquote, where we'd love to be type thing, but it's all steps in the right direction. It's a big step, obviously, because I think the Achilles heel the whole team. Like we all know, it's a talented team, top to bottom. There's a lot of talent. We got some great forwards. We're good at center. We're good at the wing. Great in that. You know, our D, although we're missing some big pieces. I wish we could get Tanev back, and at least maybe hopefully we'll get McKay. But top to bottom, it's a great team. I mean, it should be a lot better than it is. And in the whole question, the whole year is the talent there? You know, do we have the right guy? It's that they just don't have the balls. They don't have the heart. They're not going to war for each other. And it's like I said, we're taking steps in the right direction at least, and you know, quite a decent one in the last month basically. So it's really good to see. And another couple points. Hildeby standing on his head once again, just unbelievable performance. Question for you, just to get your opinion on this. Would you say at this point now, because I know it's been debated a few times before, do you think this is a big enough sample size now for people to say that Hildeby is in fact a legit NHL goalie? Because my opinion, if you were to ask me, I would start to be saying yes at this point. I think
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say yes. I would say yes. The only thing, and this is not to disagree with you, this is just my thoughts on goalies in general. Unless you're like the elite of the elite, like unless you're Shesterkin or Vasilevsky, I'm blanking on Hellebuck. Like unless you're those guys, goaltenders can be very
fickle.
Yeah, fickle. That's a good way to put it, because whether it's injuries, if it's health, if it's however many games they want to play, if it's performance, it can be fickle. It's a good way to put it, JD. So that's the only thing I would say, where like right now he looks amazing. At the end of the season, maybe it could taper off a bit. Maybe next year it could taper off a bit. Like it's possible, but right now I think unless you're a really good goaltender, or unless you're capable of being a really good goaltender, you can't put together performances like this. Like, look what's happening with the Ottawa Senators. They just signed James Reimer to a PTO halfway through their game because they had given up 8 goals through 2 periods. Like, they're in a position right now where they're playing guys that they're like, these guys can't get it done. Dennis Hildeby, he can get it done. He can play games. Yeah. He can play a pretty significant workload here, given what they've asked of him and given what the expectations were. So, yeah, I believe in him.
Yeah, if you're signing James Reimer to your professional NHL team at this point, you're basically in all-out panic mode. Yeah, that's brutal.
No kidding. Yeah, it's a tough scene out there in Ottawa. But yeah, I would agree. I think he's an NHL goaltender. I think he's a pretty reliable guy here now too.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other quick things, and I'll let you get on with stuff. Like I mentioned, Cowan, beautiful OT winner. He continues to impress. Hopefully, that's a guy that's here to stay. I think he's proving to be mature beyond his years. He looks super comfortable. He looks confident. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Obviously, he makes some mistakes, some defensive deficiencies, but when he goes back to the bench and Chief kind of lets him have it a little bit, he seems to learn and seems to improve his game. And JT.
Also, one sec on Cowan. That's one thing I think is really important that you brought up, and I think that kind of ties back to the thing that we were talking about Nick Robertson earlier with Mike in Buffalo, is that he learns. He's receptive to it. You know, he's not down and out and, oh, I'm so bummed and, oh, this sucks that he doesn't want, oh, he's telling me to do this or he's taking my minutes. He learns. And the other thing is he's still playing with some confidence. He's trying shit. Yep. He seems like he's got his mojo. He seems like he's a little he's trying things that he would try in junior because of the confidence coming over from there. So good point, JD. Good point. He is receptive and he is learning. He's getting better a lot here.
And this, I'm going to give you a hot take since you said that. I'm going to get laughed at and burned in the chat probably. But honestly, if I had to choose between him and Marner, I would choose Cowan at this point, because at least you're not looking at these blind backhand sauce pass and in danger zones and just the silly shit. I mean, he's got some talent. He's got some fancy moves and stuff like that, but he's a bit safer and he's a bit more meat and potatoes kind of player. So I'd take him over you know who.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, he shall not be named for sure. But yeah, that speaking of backhand, like between the legs pass and stuff, that fucking OT winner by JT, that pass.
The pass,
I watched it 5 times before I called in here, just on repeat watching it. I mean, he's been a bit droughty on scoring and stuff like that. People are bitching. JT, he's too old. He's too this. He's too that. The guy is still a workhorse, man. He keeps his body in good shape. He shows up. He's good in the locker room and shit like that. Like when you really need somebody to do something special, he comes through. He's not getting a goal, but that pass, that's a special player that's able to do that, especially at his age.
Yeah, and I mean, crazy too, because you're watching like a guy with 0 boots wheel up the ice and make that play.
Yep.
It also, the other point is like, it just like trickled across to Cowan. It didn't get there cleanly, and there was back pressure that was coming on him for him to kind of calmly collect that puck, take that shot, and beat Vladar the way that he did was just... It speaks to the confidence of him, speaks to the skill of JT, the confidence JT has even in this slump here right now to make that play. And hopefully, JD, this is something that can kind of kickstart JT back into gear, because I've talked about it on the postgame and the pregame a little bit, where it's like, I'm not going to come here and rip JT at all, because I don't think he's like hurting the team, but he has another level to get to. Like, he's got more to give. I think we all know that. He started really hot and he's kind of cooled off since then. So maybe this is the thing that he needs to give him a little kickstart. Like, you made a great play in overtime. You got the legs going underneath you. I even looked at the first period. He made some really good plays there. Maybe he can build off of this and turn this into something more positive, where leading into the Olympics, leading into that break, he can get back to some of that production that we were seeing from him early in the season.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's hoping anyway. But
here's hoping. Anything else here, JD?
Just a couple quick things. The puck I noticed was bobbling all night really bad. It was bouncing around like a fucking tennis ball. There was guys blowing tires, skate blades gone and stuff like that. It looked like the ice was pretty bad in Philly. Did you get that impression too?
I was watching the OT wondering if it was that or if they were drunk. Because it seemed like it was only the Leafs at first that were experiencing that in the third period. I mean, outside of Scott Laughton, who was out of his goddamn mind tonight, and, you know, you watch the face-offs that he took and some of the plays that he made just in that OT briefly before he was basically doing FOGO, face-off, get-off. The guy's falling, losing pucks,
tripping over the blue line.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. So I don't know if the ice just got really bad and Philly's used to it. The only reason that I'm like not fully willing to be like, yeah, the ice was terrible, is like the Flyers seem to get their way through it a little bit better than the Leafs did, but maybe they're just used to it. So you're right. Maybe you're onto something, JD.
I was just about to say, I noticed as well that it was primarily Toronto, but yeah, if Philly's used to having a little bit shitty ice type thing, that would make sense. But
yeah, they're just comfortable with it.
I'll leave you on these last 2 little thoughts since we did all our positives, the little negatives. Riley whiffing and shanking that open net shot, that would have that was terrible. That seemed to be Pee-wee level play that he could have finished. And defensively, other than the diving play to save the goal, at best, I would say his play was mediocre. And I just pray and hope to God that at some point here, he'll waive the no trade and we can get him the fuck out of town, because I'm personally completely sick of him. And on the tail of his ass, I hope Domi is next, because the giveaways, the defensive piss poor fucking play, he's got some skill, he's got some talent in the offensive zone, but he's just a fucking liability. So yeah, I'd just like to get 44 and 11 the fuck out of town on the fastest train.
Yeah, the Riley trade, I think if you're going to make that in if you're going to make that trade, I think it's really hard to do in season. I know a lot of people here are really frustrated, and I too get really frustrated. The one positive that I'll throw to him, and I'm interested to see how this plays out, because maybe it just increases his value. Maybe it actually ends up just being a positive for the Leafs, and you get to have that guy being a player who can make an impact on your team. But I think Brandon Carlo is a guy who can kind of level him out and help you out here a bit more than what he was giving you before. And I think we've seen that a little bit over the last 2 games. The Max Domi thing is interesting. I don't necessarily think he's got to go the same way that you're saying. But what I would say is, and I brought it up with Mike in Buffalo, is it gets exposed in a game like this. Everything else is kind of ho-hum, and it's kind of just quiet and boring and sleepy, and the Flyers are bringing pressure. He's not really, he didn't show anything that was like, I'm going to get us out or I'm going to help. Like Bobby McMahon can go out there and finish a check and wheel up and down the ice, and he's not going to make that crazy pass. He's going to chip and chase and try to work his way back into this. Domi tries to make some crazy pass or ridiculous pass, or like try to force something, and occasionally that can turn back the other way and bite you in the ass. And that's the thing that I look at with him, and I'm like, fuck, like the Konechny goal, it's him puck watching and not paying attention, and then Konechny walks down. Like that's right where he's supposed to be, and it's Konechny who waltzes by him. Defensively, you see here tonight, okay, maybe he's a bit of a liability, and the giveaways and the turnovers, they can be costly, but if he's rocking, he looks really good. It's just you're not rocking every night. So that's the problem. But I get it, JD. I understand what you're saying.
Completely agree. Cool. I'm gonna bomb out of here, Zach. I appreciate you having me on. And also, I made $475 off that Scotty Laughton anytime goal tonight. And I believe did you also on the before game show, you picked him as well, didn't you? Or was that the guys on Leaf Morning Take? You did.
No, I did as well. Yeah. That was one of my best bets here today for this one. It was the obvious one. It was the obvious one.
I thought so too. I'm just glad we didn't get scored on by Gurbankin.
Yeah, well, that was one of those things. I was reading comments. Everybody's like, Gurbankin's going to score tonight. I'm like, oh, let's hope not. But it didn't happen. JD, thanks for the call here tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm glad to hear that you're doing better. You're feeling better, and it's good to have you back here on the post-game show, calling in and hear your voice.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good night, everybody. Go Leafs.
There you go. There's JD. Go Leafs. Appreciate JD as always. More calls to get to here. People are lined up to call into the post-game show tonight. Let me get to this quickly here because it did get brought up, so we might as well take a second to dig into this one. Let's get to our best bet. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code NATION. That's NATION. Promo code NATION. NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know have a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Quickly to recap our best bets, we had 2. So the first one, we had a 1/10 of a unit on a Scott Laughton anytime goal at plus 850 over on Bet365. That profits us $85 here tonight. We also had a half unit on Matias Michelli to record an assist, who I thought was dishing it tonight. Doesn't come through, but we lose on that, so we do profit 0.35 units. We profit 0.85 on Scott Laughton goal. We lose 0.5 on the Michelli bet, where we lose there. So we are now down 0.5 units on the season, a half unit, $50 on the year. But Scott Laughton, anytime goal, does cash for us. Matias Michelli, anytime assist, does not. With that, let's get to our next caller here. See him sitting there waiting for a while. Let's hear from our guy, Zach G. First of all, great name, Zach. Great name. Oh, no. Am I getting ghosted by Zach G? That would be really unfortunate.
No, you're not. Sorry.
There we go. We got him. Zach, what's up?
I just want to say that I love the show. I watch you guys watch it all the time.
Thank
Leafs
you.
fans, all that kind of stuff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and great name. Great name.
Yes. You too. You too. Great name to you as well.
I just want to say, like, about the Leafs win tonight. Like, I know people are always kind of harping on them for not, scoring a bunch of goals anymore. They're not the same as they, used to be with Mitch and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
I don't know, man. If you're getting a win against the Flyers, you got to be happy about that, whether it's overtime or not, because it's an in conference team and they're clearly a well coached and well structured team, top to bottom. So seeing them win the game tonight was definitely a much needed win, right? So I
Yeah.
don't know if we could be unhappy with the effort that they put forth too, and even guys like Riley looked pretty good tonight on D, which is shocking.
Yeah, I mean, like, to the point about the Flyers, the one thing I was saying in the preview video was not only are they a better team, as you said, and better coach team, better structurally, excuse me, than what they were last season. They're a team that's ahead of you in the standings, and not by much, but you win this game here tonight, Zach, and now you're at 49 points on the season. The Flyers are at 52 because they picked one up there, obviously, but you're still chasing these teams. Like, any of the teams outside of really the Carolina Hurricanes right now, who I anticipate to continue to pick up wins and pick up points through the rest of the season, they're liable to fall off at any given moment. The Penguins have 51, the Sabres have 50, well, the Islanders have 52, the Flyers have 52. Those are two Metro Division teams that could be in a wild card spot at any given moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have 55, the Red Wings 56, the Habs 56. They're ahead of you, but they're ahead of you by 6-7 points, which at this point in the year, it's not that much to have to gain ground on. So, you look at the Eastern Conference teams, it's that much important to get the points. I said in the preview, like, you look at the Flyers, okay, maybe you lose this game tonight, but you got to get a point out of it, because if you lose to the Flyers, they pick up 2, they sit at 53, you're still sitting there at 47 points, and you don't advance in the standings at all. You don't close ground on Washington or Buffalo or Pittsburgh, but a win tonight, Zach, you do. You get yourself just that much closer to a playoff spot.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you look at the standings right now, like, they just hopped over. They should be hopping over Florida, barely, but they're still
Yeah,
behind
they did.
the Sabres, right? And the Sabres are, I don't know if they're going to
Just
cool
can't
off at
stop
all.
winning.
So, like, I mean, honestly, if you're Toronto, you're just really hoping that you can sneak into the wild card, because I really don't think they're going to be finishing in the top 3 this season. Like, I don't think that Detroit's going to slow down. I think Montreal might falter a little bit, but I just don't. I don't see the hole they put themselves in early on in the season. Like, I was like, I wasn't panicking at all until we were like sitting in the like in the basement, and I'm like, okay, like they don't start rattling off wins here. They're talking about firing Berube and all this other kind of nonsense, and I'm like, I think it would have been a huge mistake to move off Berube for like somebody like DeBoer, because I feel like when he came in last year, like they had a 5-year plan. I feel like, and like him, and I think that's Tree's guy, right? Like, he's not going to go anywhere as long as Tree's there. I don't think. And I don't know. I think his structure, his system was pretty brutal at the beginning of the year. Like, it was pretty, north south hockey, and like that. This team has too much talent to play that way. And like, I went to the Ottawa game like in person, and like that was like a totally different team than what I was watching on TV. Like, they're a lot faster now. They're playing a lot faster. They're holding the puck a lot more. Like,
Yeah.
Matthew obviously on fire now. You see McMahon's kind of heating up too. It's like, what do you? The question I have for you is what the hell are you gonna do when Nylander comes back on Saturday? Because like, are you dropping McMahon down to the second line? Are you dropping Michelli down? You can't put him in the bottom 6, like you said. Like, he's too skilled to be in the bottom 6. So I feel like you have to put McMahon in the bottom, and maybe Maybe put him up on the second line with Tavares and put Michelli up on the first line with Matthews.
So there's one line I don't break up at all. And the one line I don't break up at all is the third line. You do not touch those guys at all. Cowan, Robertson, Waugh. You don't touch it.
No, you don't.
So that leaves you with some interesting questions, because that means whoever's coming out of your top six is not going to your third line. They're going to your fourth line. Yarncroke, I think we all pretty much unanimously agree, is the guy who comes out of this lineup, right? Right, Zach?
Yeah, he's got to go, man. Like they don't need to re-sign him for $2 million. Like that, no thanks.
Right. So I look at him being the guy who comes out. That leaves a hole on the right side. Nye's currently playing on the right side. Nylander will come back and play on the right side. Max Domi currently playing on the right side. I don't put Nylander on the first line, personally. I don't think it makes sense to load them up. I think the problem you also end up having is that Nylander and Matthews are both shooters. They both want the puck. They both want to be the focal point. They both want to be the guy. You don't touch that. So what I think I end up doing is taking Yarncroke out, and I threw out the idea of putting Nylander with Laughton and Lorenz, because I think they become technically your second line at that point, but I got a lot of pushback. I was expecting people to disagree with me. I put that clip out on social media after the game on Tuesday, and I was just getting roasted for that one. People were calling me a moron, saying I don't even know hockey. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll have to walk this one back, and people, it's just not going to work. But I think what I probably end up doing is putting Nyes onto the line with Laughton and Lorenz, or Domi onto that line. And then if you put Domi onto the line, you have to put Michelli onto the first line, and you move Nyes over to second line left wing. But if you put Nylander or Nyes onto the line with Laughton, they basically become your second/third line. So you have like 2A, 2B. And then you keep your first line, you keep your third line, and then you don't shake up this roster too much. So that is the way I would do it, but I don't put Michelli into my bottom six personally. If you're going to put Nylander on a line with Nyes and JT, you got to move Michelli to the first line, which then puts Domi onto your fourth line. That's the way I see these puzzle pieces moving.
Yeah, I'd be okay with Domi on the fourth line, because he's helpful for Matthews, I guess, with the passing, but he's a huge liability out there. Like with some of the plays he makes, man, it's like, what were you seeing there? Like I don't understand. And I think like people were touching on Cowan. I honestly think like he could end up being like another like Darcy Tucker type player in the future. Because I feel like he has that, he could have that aspect to his game where he's a little bit more nasty. He hits. Yeah, I've seen him throw some good hits. And he's not going to be like a 50-goal scorer, I don't think, in this league. I doubt it. I feel like on this team, especially like they're so loaded with offense, like they need somebody that can be a better two-way like left winger or right winger. But I just feel like he could step in that type of role in the future. So I would definitely don't consider trading him for anybody at this point.
I wouldn't either. I think my approach to this season, especially the way that this entire Eastern Conference is shaking out right now, would be to let things play out. You know, I talked about this when we heard the rumors of Tree Living looking to add guys and trade and find pieces out there, is like, let's not go nuts. Let's not trade away the farm and trade away assets, because the other thing is, like, even if you go on a heater and you end up tied with the Montreal Canadiens in first place in the Atlantic, you're not that far off of teams that are still trying to chase you. Like, so it's not that much separation. It's not like this is you're that far out or you're that far in, or you're sitting in a position here to get into a wild card spot and the teams that are below you can't catch you. I would rather just keep this thing as it is, let it get to the Olympic break, Get yourself past the Olympics, leading up to the trade deadline. See who's healthy, who's not, how the team's playing, and then make decisions there. But trading guys like Easton Cowan and Ben Danford is like non-negotiable, unless fucking Edmonton calls you and wants to trade you Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, or like your McKinnon, like those kinds of guys. Unless you get that call, I'm not answering that. Like I don't want that trade even being thrown out there.
No, not a chance. That's just they're just going to be repeating the same thing they've done for like since Dubas was here, where they always trade like a first pick for like somebody like O'Reilly or Foligno or somebody like that comes in for a really mediocre, terrible playoff run, and they get beaten in 7 games. And it's like, why did we just give up all of our draft picks, all of our prospects for like, Fraser Minton was given up to for Carlo, which doesn't look great. But
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I think they just keep the team as is. Like, don't be pushing for like somebody like Rasmus Anderson. Like, I mean, do you really want to bring him into Toronto and pay him a boatload of money and have him taper off in a couple of years? And you're just like, wow, we have another Morgan Riley situation where you're sitting there with some guy with a huge cap hit who's totally declined. Like, I love Riley. Like, overall, his career has been solid.
Yeah.
But like, he's not the same guy. Ever since he got that ankle injury, like, he's been slower and he makes stupid decisions all the time. And I mean, tonight was different. He played pretty well tonight, but he's just not the same guy. And I mean, you're definitely not gonna be able to get rid of that contract, especially mid-season, unless you're swallowing up like maybe 25% and trading somebody good with him, like a Cowan or a Danford. Like, Calgary's not going to listen to a 2028 first round pick because they can get something a lot better a lot sooner if they listen to other teams, right? So
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
I just
Yeah, no,
I, said-
yeah.
I was just gonna say the defense in general. Like, I don't understand why Philip Myers is in the lineup. I get that he's a right shot D man, but like, why don't you just put Matt Benning in there instead? Like, Myers looks absolutely awful out there, and I don't like him as as a defenseman at all in Toronto. Like, I don't think he fits there, and I don't know why they keep trying to. It's like they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Like, it's just he's not the guy. Like, take him out of the lineup,
Yeah.
put Benning in. Like, he's a much better defenseman. He's younger. Like, I don't see I don't see the lore behind Myers at all.
No, neither do I. I think that Berube knows him, trusts him, whatever. That's not really a good excuse in my opinion, but I think that he just is aware of who he is from his time in Philly when they were there together, because I think he was part of that staff. So
Yeah.
to bring over a guy that you're comfortable with or familiar with makes sense. But that being said, I'm with you. I don't trust him long term. That said, I think he's played much better of late. I think he's a guy that can fill in and chip in and provide minutes. But I don't think he's a guy that I would want in my lineup every single night. Like, that's the issue that I end up having with him. I don't want him to be a part of my top 6. I don't mind if he's my number 7. I don't mind if he's my number 8. Like, I think in these games and in relief situations, you could trust him and you could rely on him. Outside of that, I don't want him being a guy that you're playing every night.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about is the goalies. Like, clearly Hildeby is an NHL caliber goalie. Like, he can be for sure a reliable backup for Wall. So like, when Stolarz comes back, like, whatever's going on with him, I'm not really sure. Like, I personally think it's like a long term thing with with getting hit in the head by Bennett last year. I don't think helped a lot, and I think he's
Yeah.
just never really been the same. And you see this his cap. It's not huge. It's not like a Jack Campbell like in Edmonton situation, but like 3.75 for another 4 years of potential below 900 save percentage. Like, I would definitely consider moving off of Stolarz, but I don't know if I'd do it I'd wait till the off season, because you don't know what's going to happen with Hildeby. If you just kind of you get rid of Stolars, you hope that Hildeby's what he is, and then he ends up faltering a little bit because he's still kind of young, right? So I just think long term they're in good shape with goaltenders for sure,
Yeah.
because they have some guys coming up too, and I think Stolar's with his age and that cap hit. Like, I mean, I think he could fit somewhere else in a like Edmonton could definitely use him. Ottawa could use him. Like lots of teams could use that goalie, but I just don't think he is what he was last year, and I don't think he's gonna ever be that kind of goalie again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of why I just say, like, I'm not afraid to listen to calls.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you got to go out there and try to get rid of these guys. You don't have to actively pursue trades to get them out of here, but I don't hate the idea of somebody calling you and offering something and you saying, okay, yeah, we can swing that. Okay, yeah, we can make that work. I think that is fair. If the player's willing to move, if you're willing to move, I think that's all okay. Joe Hill says you don't trade a guy with a full NMC and a 16-team no trade clause. I think he's talking about Stolars. The only thing is, I don't know if his trade list is in effect right now. That contract he has starts next year. And again, to that point, if a team calls you, you can basically say he's got protection, he's got a term on his deal, you can have him for a while, not just this season. And if he's willing to go there and the team's willing to take him and they're willing to offer you something, and again, I'm not trying to push him out of town, I'm just saying the way Hildeby's playing, the way Joe Wall is playing, you might have depth here at the position where if somebody calls you and offers you something where it's like a top 4 defenseman, or if it's a top 6 forward, which I don't think you get for that guy, to be clear. But if somebody calls and says, I'm willing to do this, I think that's something you entertain.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, like we're kind of the Leafs are lucky too, because Hildeby, they can send him down without anybody claiming him and stuff. So I mean, they're safe that way. But
Yeah.
I have one thing I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if it's accurate at all, but I saw some sort of rumor about Jason Robertson having interest in going to Toronto. I don't know if that's because of Nick's there, but
I think that was
somebody?
I think that was the other way. I think that was Toronto having interest in Jason Robertson.
Right, probably. But I mean,
Yeah.
I would 100% take him if they can swing it
yeah.
somehow. But at the same time, like,
It would be a haul of a package going the other way, though. That would be a Cowan trade. That would be a potential Danford. That would be picks and maybe a future goalie and like that kind of stuff. Like those are the guys that get involved in that kind of deal.
Yeah, I was just wondering because if Nick's there, maybe he would actually want to play with his brother, but I don't know. Like maybe not.
Yeah. Jason Robertson would be a great player to have, though. I would say that. All right, Zach, anything else for me here on the postgame tonight?
No, man. Thanks for letting me chat with you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night and look forward to hearing from you again.
Sounds good. Have a good night, man.
Thank you. You too. There he is. Zach G. Great name. Great name. More callers to get to. We did hit 150 likes, over 300 people watching here still. Leaf Station 401 right here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure to find us wherever you get your podcasts, the Leaf Nation After Dark. Here are the smelling salts for 150. We got more callers. One thing I want to show people just quickly, JD called in and he talked about the camaraderie of this team and these guys being a tighter knit group. One thing that's coming out here in the postgame is that the boys apparently were making Easton Cowan dance in the middle of the room following tonight's game. The reporters here tweeting out after this one, David Alter, Anna Dua, among a few of them, posting that they pushed Easton Cowan to the center and made him dance. And I can't play the song on the postgame because we will get we'll get some issues for copyright, but this is apparently the song that they are playing. It is accompanying this video that Denver Barkey, Easton Cowan's teammate, who the Maple Leafs played tonight, he plays for the Philadelphia Flyers, have posted. And for those not familiar, that is Easton Cowan dancing to a TikTok dance. On the left, that is Denver Barkey in the middle. And to be completely honest, I'm not entirely sure who that is on the right, but they are making Easton Cowan dance to this in the room. And Scott Laughton was asked about Easton Cowan, and he said he's got rhythm. As Anna Dua points out, he's never living that TikTok down. That is a team that is at least bare minimum a little bit closer, and having a guy like Scott Laughton in that room helps with. Next caller, let's get to him. Joe Hill. What's up, Joe? Big win for the Maple Leafs here tonight in overtime. Coming back, battling from being a team that was taking a beating in this one to end up walking away with 2 points against the Flyers.
That was a bit of a 2017 OT, don't you think? Like it takes you a little bit back when they're first starting to get it together, starting to win, getting some grindy wins and stuff like that, like they did when they're kind of middle of the pack all that year. And it was fun. It was I mean, it was boring, but Trockett.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It was fun, but it was boring. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I mean, it's just a Trockett style shutdown game too. So you have like two of the most shutdown coaches in the NHL playing against one another. It's kind of like, it's like one of those feelings. So, but at the same time, it was a fun win. I love OT wins. That's good. We got points. So you just got to keep putting it together. And, we keep talking about how far out we are, and you look at the standings and how it's not too far. You just need that consistency, right? Not to sound so cliche, a hockey cliche of consistency, but you really need it. And if you can start to put those wins together, 5, 6 at a time, you're gonna really start to climb up there where other guys are starting to falter when it starts to get into the dog days of January and February, right? So that's kind of what we need.
Yeah, I mean, this next stretch, I talked about it earlier in the show here, but this next stretch is going to be the most important stretch of hockey for this Leafs team. Obviously, coming back and then down in towards the final playoff push and everything is as well. But like, this is the kind of make or break time for the organization. And what I mean by that, Joe, is like, you falter here, you fall down in the standings, and you're 4 or 5 points back of a playoff spot, and you end up looking around and you're with the Ottawa Senators, who are putting out the worst PR statements in the history of PR statements, and you're with Columbus and you're with New York. If you're with those teams and you go into the Olympic break and you're that far out, where it's like, it's not that far out in the grand scheme of things, but when you talk about...
It might as well be the Grand Canyon in the East right now.
Right, exactly. Because everyone gets points every night. So if you go into the Olympic break and you've got, I think it's about 30 games left in the season is what it averages out to for most teams coming back from the Olympic break. If you come back and you're 5 points out, well, is that really enough runway? Because that seems like a death sentence, which, Joe, to me means that teams around this league, they normally have to do this on the fly. Games are being played, guys are getting injured, guys are being healthy, guys are getting traded, guys become available, guys go unavailable again all throughout the year, and you got to make decisions quickly. And at that point, the Maple Leafs management might be like, okay, we don't want to know what to do. We might sit on our hands here if it's a normal year and it's an all-star break and say, hey, we've got, 4 days. Okay, we're not going to be able to come to a conclusion in this time. Let's sit on our hands. Let's not do anything. Or maybe let's try to make a small trade or whatever. Now you're going to have 3 weeks, which means MLSE can sit down. Keith Pelly can sit down. Tree Living can sit down. Berube can sit down. And they can all have a conversation and say, this isn't going to work. So, Brad, don't make that trade. Or they could look at this and say, you're a good team. You're in a playoff spot. Let's not go crazy, but let's work towards building things up here. And that it's a huge stretch here going into the Olympic break, because this could be like organizationally changing games and points and moves that come up over the next little while.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to be really hypothetical tonight on a few things. So let's just go with it. This team last year, let's just say the team from last year faces the downward spiral that these guys had for the first 2.5 months. They don't climb back. They do not climb back at all. I don't think they have. You saw how they dissolved against Florida last year. I honestly think that they don't. You have this depth now this year, and that's the one thing that really keeps me on a positive trend on the team right now, and that's just because they do have that depth. Somebody is going to score, somebody's going to keep grinding it out, and they are starting to play for one another. They really are. And I don't think in the years past they had been playing for one another as much. So that feels really good. I don't know what your thoughts might be on that.
It does feel like they're playing for each other a lot more. I don't know if you caught the video I played. There was no audio, but it was the video of Cowan dancing before.
There's that. And the guys, Cowan was given like an interview too, and the guys were like sticking their heads out, looking at him and then walking out a little bit. It was pretty funny. I posted that in the chat too. So it's that type of, it takes me back a little bit to when I was playing. You know what I mean? When you got guys, having a good time with you.
And, I look at the Washington Capitals, and I look at their pregame routines and them at postgame, and, you look at these teams and just the camaraderie that takes place. Again, I just, it's not everything. It's not the be-all, end-all, but when you look at a group that's been so soulless for so long, it feels like after those first 2 to 3 years...
It's a tough market. It's a tough market to have a personality in, too. You know what I mean? So... That's tough.
Well, I would say yes and no. I think William Nylander has a personality and he seems to do just fine. I think Austin Matthews has one. He picks and chooses when to use it, and sometimes he can be a little sassy, but he has it. I think it's a tough market to have a personality in if you're somebody who is highly offended by things very easily and maybe isn't very good in front of a mark,
like that too.
Or has a dad who's pretty sensitive, or maybe those things could play a factor and maybe that makes it hard to be here. But Scott Laughton has a personality. Easton Cowan has a personality. Troy Stetcher has a personality. You saw Troy Stetcher going like this to the fans. You see William Nylander wearing the outfits he wears and putting up a YouTube channel. The market will support that just fine, but you have to give it your all. And these guys right now are giving it. And people are getting behind it. You kind of have
to roll with the punches too, right? You can't just be giving it all the time, and then when somebody pushes back a little bit, you're like, hey, you can't do that. So I read you.
And that's what I say. Brad Marchand would have thrived here, and that's a guy with the most personality.
God, I would have loved him
here, right?
I would have loved him so much.
So you're seeing these guys with the personality. You're seeing them with the camaraderie, and it's they just don't feel so soulless anymore. When they were young guys, they had it, but I think that the team, the way they handled these guys with such kid gloves and put them in that bubble wrap and hid them away and never let them speak, they didn't let them have it. And then you filtered out everyone around them so much they never had it. Now the team is allowing guys to speak and allowing videos in the room and allowing Ryan Leslie to sit down with guys. And you see Scott Laughton fucking with Ryan Leslie and won't let him do a walk and talk. He made him do a stand and talk because he said he wanted to give more in-depth answers and shit. You see these guys doing that, and it's okay, we now get to know the players a little bit more. We feel closer to them as fan base. And now that the team is doing well, you're seeing them start to kind of bring their personalities into stuff. You see the behind-the-scenes videos. I just saw the video of the post-game stuff, and you see Craig Berube, or you see the team rallying around Scott Laughton after that game and jumping on him and pushing him and shit, and it's these guys are getting fired up about that. They're making Easton Cowan do dances. There is that element of camaraderie.
Matthew shoving Scott Laughton out to the center of the ring today for stretches and stuff.
Exactly. And that's just not being there. It's been robotic and vanilla, Jimmy VC vanilla. It's been plain and boring and old and stale, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, I like that. And there's something to be said for gelling a team for the fans as well, because Toronto is such a great hockey town because they get to know these guys. And down here in the States, we have an ECHL team, and we can get attached to those guys too. But they move those guys in and out so much; it's just hard to get a personality on the team. So when you have these guys that are starting to gel together, it's just so much more fun to cheer for them and see those victories. And it's like you said, you can really start to get personalities on the lines too. Like you brought up the Coneheads line from the American team in 80. It is our third line is very much like that. Just a bunch of weirdos that you wouldn't think would work. Like who would have thought Nick Waugh and Nick Waugh and Easton Cowan working together, along with Robertson. It's just so weird, but it works. So don't fuck with it, right? So which is great. I'm glad we're seeing that. But all right, so I'm going to shift gears on you real quick.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about trading Stoli. First of all, bad idea because he's the only goalie with a lot of snarl, and you need a lot of snarl in the playoffs. I like that. Did he hurt his neck or his head or something? Yes. But that dude was lights out in the playoffs last year. He can get back to that. I think that is rare, and you need that, and he's been there before. So there's something to be said for that. So that's my caveat to all of this. However, if by some miracle they are able to sit down the Olympic break and go, we can go shopping with him and Yarn Crook and do a package deal or a Danford or something like that. I'm thinking Stoli is from New Jersey, and Jonathan Quick is not getting any younger on the Rangers, and they are looking like they're about to go into a sell mode. Do you think that we could trade for a certain top D from the Rangers with Stoli and a couple of other guys?
Oh, like a guy whose name rhymes with Padam Socks? Like one of those kinds
like
of
one of those
top
guys. Yeah, like one of those guys.
No. To be honest, no. I think that it's way more expensive than it probably would want it to be. I think
who else
the Rangers.
is selling?
Well, like the problem is that I think Quinn Hughes becomes the blueprint. And your issue then.
Deal.
Pardon?
I said, God damn that deal. The reason why we paid so high last year is because everybody was going fucking nuts. Everybody's like, why did we trade so much for those players? Well, because the entire market was saturated with crazy trades at the time. I mean, let's just be honest.
Look at the Brock Nelson deal. Look at
the Brock Nelson and all that. Rantanen and all those other things going on. I mean, holy shit. So, yeah. So whenever people bring up, I'm like, okay, hindsight, guys, let's think about what was going on at the time. Anyway, I interrupted you. I apologize, but
no, it's all good. It was a good interruption. I just think your problem lies with your trade for Adam Fox, if that's the guy you're referring to, Joe. If you're trading for that type of player, it's a far more expensive deal than I think you have the assets for. Or B, you'd be willing to pay if you're trying to get in, because I think that, okay, who's your Zeev Boyum and who's your Liam Ogren and your Marco Rossi and then your picks. Okay, so if you try to compare those and you think, okay, we don't have this guy because I love Easton Cowan, I love Ben Danford. I don't think either of them are as good as what Zeev Boyum is currently today, and I think his ceiling is really, really high. Like I am very, very high on Zeev Boyum. So that's like the focal point of the piece. So now you kind of have to look at like who's the players you have who are higher than that, or what can you make up for outside of that. And I think your problem then lies within like, is the guy you're trying to move on from, or you have to move on from a piece like a William Nylander. And I'm not saying like that's the deal where it's like Nylander replaces Boyum and you add other shit, but like, is that the ask back? Like, is that what happens? And I think if you're trying to go on a run, dumping off more top six forwards when you currently need top six forwards is not the approach. It's not the ideal way to go about it. Because then you're going to get rid of William Nylander and be like, nice, we've got a number 1D, and now we got to go and find a top 6 forward. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. We just had one.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? So that's the problem there.
And you do have the
it.
streakiness of Riley in the playoffs and how he just suddenly turns on like a goddamn robot and just becomes like lights out, right? So, I mean, he didn't last year, but he was better last year. Anyway, I think, and I'm not negative on Riley as much as a lot of guys are, because who else is fucking out there that you're going to replace him with? Not much. Anyway, I would say the Overdrive guys were talking about Rasmus Anderson today or yesterday. I can't remember which. I got to be honest. Why are we even talking about Calgary at this point? We know that they'll never trade with Toronto, and we know that they'll never trade with Tree Living. It's like two things back to back that they absolutely hate dealing with. I would love to get him, but remember when they were talking about Zadorov last year or whatever his name was, who went to Boston, and how he was the big sexy D man, that was going for trades, and then suddenly, just completely. It just walked right past us, and people are talking about trading Easton Callan for like Luke Shen. Are people insane? I know that Winnipeg needs to sell, but they're not going to, anybody who gives up a middle 6 forward for Luke Shen would be out of their minds. I love Luke Shen. I love him.
Was that perhaps Joe in the conversation about Braden Shen, not Luke?
No, they were talking about Luke.
There was a report that came out. Okay, that's nuts. Yeah, I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, I love Braden Shen too, and I know that St. Louis might be selling as well, but you never know. I mean, they're trying to rebuild, and who knows what they're going to do with with their GM on the way out. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Anyway, so that was my hypothetical for the evening. I really, like I said, I really enjoyed just your idea of moving Nicey to the 4th line and getting a War Dog line going. Holy shit, that would be so
also
epic.
like the thing too is like you and I are saying 4th line. If Matthew Nyes or William Nylander, as I pointed out, like that would be the other way I would go about it. If they are on your 4th line, and I say that yes, it's not your 4th line anymore. It's like it's basically your 2nd line. It's basically a 2nd or a 3rd line. And I mean, the one thing I want to say where it's like people are saying I'm nuts because it's like, oh, why would you pair him with those guys? It's like Austin Matthews is currently playing with Bobby McMahon and Max Domi. Like those are middle to bottom 6 players, respectfully, and Matthews is making it work with those guys. So why is it so insane that Nylander plays with lesser players? But anyways, I think it would be fun. I think they would beat the shit out of everybody. Like I think they would just make people's lives miserable.
Big boy hockey, and that's what's needed. And let's be honest, the President's Cup is cursed. So. Maybe we won't be facing the Avs in the playoffs. Maybe we'll face like the Kings. Oh boy, that would be great if we make it to the SFC. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's only been 6 games, but still, it's been a good trend, and I'm a little bit worried about the West road trip. Those guys get tired and they get beat up, and we're playing the Oilers, and there is a bit of a reprieve with playing the Mammoth, but even still, you can't take any game for granted. You just got to grind out those points. And so I hope they just stand on their head, win 3 in a row, and surprise everybody. And then maybe people will start to think, okay, they're legit. I already think they're legit. I already know they're legit, but I'm just hoping that other people will start to believe. They'll start to get that support and maybe a little bit. And they still have that great fuck you attitude to everybody this year, rather than this kind of mealy mouth, we've been trying, that type of attitude that they've had in years past. Now it's just kind of like, no, we're here. We're together. It's us against the world, and we're going to fucking play. And I really love that. So anyway.
I'm starting to buy in here too, Joe. I think the only thing, and it's a fault of them, not the fan base. It's their own fault for people not buying in, where it's because they put together such a large body of work that was like, we are pathetic, that they are now trying to alter and change people's opinions of them. Yeah, I'll give them credit. Like, you're 43 games in, and this has basically been a stretch of, I'd say probably like 9 better games, because I think that in that Dallas game, they started to play better. And then when they got down, they waved the white flag and they quit. So for like 15 minutes of that one, it was bad. But for the most part, it was like a better process. And then it was the very next game, Mark Savard fired, Pittsburgh run starts, and now you're 6-0-2 in your last 8. So I think I would stay at like the last 9, it's been better. But when you talk about 8 of 43 games versus what we saw before that, it's going to take people a little bit more to get back on the train. So I completely understand that. I'm starting to buy in, but yeah, that's I think fair. Joe, anything else for me here tonight? I got more callers, and it is getting late, so we're keeping
getting late.
These.
Well,
But,
thanks for the time,
else.
Zach. It was a good time chopping it up with you as usual. So go Leafs go. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it as always. We got 2 more callers that I'm going to get to here quickly, but before we do, just a quick word from our sponsors, Uber Eats. Uber Eats, Crave the Stats, is a presentation of Uber Eats. Thank you to our friends at Uber Eats. They're enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Every time the Leafs are playing at home, you can get these exclusive deals in Toronto only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, the BOGO Brisket Hat-Trick, Kibo Sushi, the BOGO California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, BOGO Traditional Wrap. BOGO, of course, is buy one, get one before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Stat of the day. Crave the stats. I'll run down the box score. Look, I'll run down the box score. I'll run down the box score for today's Crave the Stats, but there's one stat. There's one stat tonight that stands out above the rest. There's one stat tonight that is undeniably the greatest stat to come out of this game. Scott Laughton goes 19-1. 19 for 20 in the dot tonight. Fogo in OT, unbelievable on PK. How many times did they start with the puck? How many times were they winning draws in their defensive zone and able to transition and get out of the zone? Scott Laughton was out of his fucking mind tonight in the face-off circle, and that is undeniably the stat of the day. 19-1 for Scooty Lutz. This guy is playing unbelievable. He's bringing heart. He's bringing character. It looks like the locker room has changed. The approach to the game, the mindset, the overall energy that you're seeing these guys play with, sticking up for each other, the family aspect of everything. They are playing so much better. And this guy is a catalyst of it. Look at this game tonight. He was on his game from opening puck drop, even though the rest of the team was kind of sleepy. And then as the team picked up, he got better and better and better. Penalty killing, the shorthanded goal, all of it. And then he goes 19-1 in the dot. 19-1 is my stat of the day, and it doesn't even come close to anything else. 95% in the face-off circle for Scott Laughton is the best single-game face-off percentage of anybody in the NHL this season who took 18 or more face-offs in one single game. I was dying, too, because at the end there, in the overtime, Laughton comes out, takes a face-off, start with the puck. Another face-off. Laughton comes out, takes the face-off, start with the puck, get off the ice. I'm like, just keep putting him out there. I even said to my buddies, I'm like, I almost don't want him to go out there now because, I don't want to ruin this percentage. But Scott Laughton played a hell of a game tonight, and he was fucking dialed in the face-off circle. So good on Scott Laughton. Actually, quickly here, let's also just run down box score for people. First star of the game, according to ESPN, Easton Cowan, who gets the game winner. Scott Laughton, a goal, no assists in this, but I just want to point out how some guys on the Toronto Maple Leafs did tonight. Dennis Hildeby, a .957 face-off percent. He finishes with 22 saves on 23 shots against. He was really good tonight in this one. You look at the first period, the second period, then the penalty kills in the third period when it was 5-on-3, 5-on-4 there. Dennis Hildeby was making some unbelievable saves. Looking through your lineup, Morgan Riley, 2 shots on goal. He finishes even. Stetcher, even. Myers, even. Ekman Larson, the only defenseman who finishes +1 here tonight. Benoit and Carlo also even. Up the lineup, Cowan +1. Domi -1. Yarncroke, Nyes, Michelli, Robertson, Wall, all even on this. Tavares +1. McMahon, Matthews -1 there as well. Lorentz +1. Laughton +1. It's just spread the wealth throughout. Minutes tonight, Matthew Nyes plays the most minutes of all forwards. 20 minutes and 40 seconds of time on ice. So kudos to Matthew Nyes, who seems to be kind of starting to find it here. We talked about him battling through injury, and to this point, it seems like he's kind of figuring it out. He's getting back on track and looking more like Matthew Nyes, kind of at the right time here too, because so is Austin Matthews. All right, let's now get to callers to wrap this thing up. We'll go a little bit rapid fire because it's late, but let's start with Merrick. Merrick, do we got you there?
Hello?
What's up, Merrick?
What's going on, Zach?
Pretty happy after this win.
Yeah, for sure. 2 points is 2 points. Listen, there's nothing else I'd rather do than 1 a.m. on a Friday than talk buds with you. So I'm going to try to make this quick because I know you got the serious yawns going tonight. I guess that comes with all the hard work we've been putting on the channel.
No, you don't have to make it quick. I'm not going to do like a 20-minute call here. That's all I'm saying. No, you don't have to make it quick. You don't have to rush. Get your points in.
Listen, it might be a good warm-up for you because next week they're out west and you're going to be starting the show at this time pretty much. So,
dude, Monday, Tuesday, I think the games are at 10 p.m.
Yeah. So
anyways, continue.
This might be a good warm-up for you. Anyways, overall, I thought this game was just like meh. It was like boring at times, a lot of the times. And then overtime hits and both teams are like, holy fuck, let's just go. Let's go end to end and have some fun. I thought the Leafs, although they didn't quote unquote weather the storm in the first period, I didn't think they were great. I didn't think they were bad by any means, but I think they were just kind of there. I mean, they got out of the period. They're on the road at 0-0, so I guess it's a good road period in that sense. Like I said, I remember Matthews with that 2-on-1 chance as one of the legit chances that they had in that period. Second and third were fine, in my opinion. I thought they were okay. Power play wasn't good. I'll talk about that later, in my opinion. I know you've talked about it on the show a couple times today. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a meh game. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're not going to have your best every single game. And at this point, and where the Leafs are in the standings, all that really matters is 2 points. And they got that. So let's be happy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like that's the whole sentiment for me coming out of this one. Yes, there's a lot that you want better to be done better. And yes, they can improve on how they started the game. They can improve on some penalties, which I think were some weak calls, but maybe you kind of have to realize, hey, this one isn't going to be, this one's not going to be the best game here tonight, officiation, like a ref wise. So maybe we need to be careful with our sticks. But you won. You battled back. You didn't quit. Your penalty kill got through. Scott Laughton has 2 shorthanded goals this season. The Leafs have 3 total. Is 2 of your 3. He gets that. You know, you climb back in. You guaranteed you were getting 1 point, and then you stole the next one and walked away with 2. Like, that to me is a positive. It's a road game. You don't play your best every night. You have a letdown spot coming off of an amazing game on Tuesday, and you don't let it be a letdown. You don't let it be a letdown. That is a positive for me, Merrick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, 2 points. That's all you got to say. They got the 2 points.
Yeah.
So that's from a game standpoint. From a Leafs standpoint, you could say a lot. I really boil it down to 2 players, Dennis Hildeby and Scott Laughton. Hildeby, I wouldn't say he stole the game, but he made some key saves at key times that definitely kept them with a chance to win the game. I mean, right before the Leafs score, he made an amazing save going cross crease there on the 2-on-1. So I thought he was really, really good. Can't really say much more about him. He gave us a chance to win, and we won. So that's all you can ask from your goalie. Scott Laughton, I think you said it the best. This was the Scott Laughton game. I find it ironic because I feel like we've been looking for this kind of game from the quote-unquote core four for the longest time, in a game where it matters for you to just take over. Now, I know what you're going to say, this game 43 of the season, and it really doesn't matter. But to Scott Laughton, this game mattered, and he showed up. And you can tell by the way he was playing, by the way he was chirping. This is his old team. He was chirping guys. He was on the face-off get-off in the overtime. He was tied up with Couturier all the way to the bench, right?
Yeah.
You can tell he just wanted it. So it was really, really nice to see. I don't know if they've released the video of the belt yet, but if he doesn't get the belt, there's something seriously wrong with Michelli. I think he did get the belt, but that's... Anyways. Power play. I know you talked about this briefly as well with Mike and a couple of the callers. I don't necessarily think that the perimeter passing is bad. I just think it needs to be quick. Even if you take a look at the goals when their power play was hot in the last 6 games or so, there still is an amount of perimeter stuff, but it's just quick. If you pass it to someone on the perimeter and they stick handle 4 or 5 times and they pass it back, that's when it allows the penalty killers to get back in formation and take away the lanes. So I think it just needs to be quicker. That's my only concern. In the power play, if you watch it today, it was a lot of pass, skate around, and not pass, boom, someone in the bumper's open, and there's your shot, right? So I think to me, that's what I saw with their power play today, and it wasn't good, accompanied with some turnovers that didn't help either. But
I want to stop on that quickly. Good point. Very good point, which is something that I think even sometimes I get lost in talking about what's happening on the power play. Perimeter stuff is fine, but you have to pass the puck with purpose. It has to move quickly, and it can't move for the sake of moving, right? Like, it can't be like, here's Morgan Riley, I'm going to pass it to Austin Matthews because I want Austin Matthews to have the puck, and then Matthews stands there and he's like, I'm going to pass to John Tavares so that I passed the puck and I didn't hold it forever. Like, what the fuck is that? Passing it with purpose is very important. So I'm with you there. That's a good point, Merrick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the power play. I just had some stuff on some guys that we've also talked about recently, and you've also talked to some callers on. Dennis Hildeby, I talked about him briefly already. Personally, I'm not the coach, but I start him on Saturday. It's one of the worst teams in hockey in Vancouver, and to be fair, Joseph Woll has historically never been the guy, and he's always shown that he can come back from not playing 2 games in a row or from a long injury. So it's not like he gets cold and just forgets how to play goal. So I personally, that's what I would do. I think I'd start Hildeby. I think he's deserved it by the way he's played. And I think for a guy like that who you could maybe see a future in, it's good to kind of give him this game and say, hey, I'm going to reward you, buddy, for kind of keeping us in this one game. That's just my opinion. I doubt they'll do it, but just my opinion on the goalie situation.
I don't think that that's a ridiculous take at all. I think that that's a pretty fair evaluation of looking at the goaltending right now, what you've got of these guys, and just you're getting 2 goaltenders who are playing well, and if you can set Joseph Woll up to play against the Avalanche as well, that's probably a pretty good way to go about it, which would be interesting here. But I think that is important for you to have played Hildeby tonight to give you that option. Because I think if you played Woll, you're then looking at a significant workload for Woll over the last week and a half, because going into this weekend, you play Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, which then sewers you, including a road trip, like you're traveling for those West Coast games. So thinking about how you're going to get these guys through that and who's going to go in each of the games, barring performance or injury or whatever. I mean, knock on wood for that. But yeah, I mean, actually, that's a pretty good point, Merrick. And to be honest with you, thinking about it more now, That wouldn't surprise me if they do that. Because if you can play, whoever you play on Monday isn't going to play on Tuesday, right? And I can't imagine you're going to, I wonder if you go with Wall on Monday, like why would you then play him on Tuesday as well when you could give him an extra little bit of rest? So that's an interesting point. Super chat comes in from Joe Hill, and he says Hill to be for Saturday, Wall against the Avs on Monday as well. So good point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll do it, but that's what I would do personally. Tavares, I kind of a tale of two games, really. I thought he had a rough game. A lot of turnovers, especially on the first power play. I think Mike Johnson even brought it up that he kind of had two rough turnovers and kind of derailed that first power play. But then he comes in overtime. He makes that sweet backhand through the legs pass to Cowan, and he buries. So kind of redeemed himself there. So just a couple of things on Tavares. I didn't think he had a good game, and then he makes that world-class play in overtime. So just a give and the take kind of thing. Same thing with Riley, in my opinion. I thought he was pretty good tonight. Besides that whiff on the empty net, which is really, really tough to watch.
At end of the period, and you're going into intermission, and you're like, we could tie this thing up at that point, and it's like, oh, miss net. Now we are down 1-0 still. Like, fuck.
Same kind of thing as Tavares. Like there's bad points, and then you think about the overtime. He was the guy that Superman dove across the crease there and stopped Couturier from burying, right? So, and the puck goes down the ice. Cowan scores. So again, he kind of made up for that whiff. On that note, you talked about your best bet. I also cashed on Laughton anytime goal. It's refreshing to see non-Leaf players go back and score in their old building because it seems like it happens all the time. And you also took Michelli anytime assists. If Morgan Riley on that, Michelli would have had his assist.
Good point.
Another player you talked about today was Stolarz. I think you'd be dumb not to listen to people call about Stolarz. Just because we think he's on a good contract that you have pointed out doesn't kick in till next year, it doesn't mean that we should look at him differently. I think the Leafs as a franchise have got into this problem before where it's like, these are our guys, so we're not going to trade them, and it's backfired for them, right? Like Mitch Marner walked for nothing. He was your guy, right? And another point on Stolarz is the guy is basically never healthy. What makes you think that when he does come back, he won't just get injured again? He's never showed you that that's going to happen, right? So and just on that point, outside of the Leafs, it's crazy to think that throughout the years, we've gotten so many developments in technology and the ways people, recover from games, the massage therapists, the chefs, the personal trainers, all the stuff that they're able to take. But I feel like for goalies, we're going backwards. Because if I think back to when I was growing up, when I was watching, Marty Brodeur, Eddie Belfour, they were playing 70-plus games a season. And now it seems like in the NHL, no one plays more than 55, 60 games a season, unless you're like Vasilevsky or Shesterkin or something like that. So it's funny to me to see that, the way that technology and all this stuff is advancing, that the goalies seem to be going backwards. But anyway.
That's kind of funny to think about. Like everybody else is getting this, the recovery and getting ready to go through a grueling season. And then it's just like goalies they're not healthy. They get injured all the time. They don't play. Like, I mean, Glenn Hall, we laughed about it. It's a record that'll never be broken. I think it was like 502 or something consecutive starts for Glenn Hall. 502. You just talked about goalies who don't even play 40 games in a season, not let alone 40 straight. Glenn Hall played 502. And on the sheet earlier today, we were showing pictures of Glenn Hall in the dressing room smoking darts. This is a guy who played 502 straight games. He's smoking darts in the room. And we got goalies today with like the best medical care that they could possibly get, and they're just banged up all the time. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Last note on a player, and then I'll talk on the lineup. You have a caller in here, Noah, that you call the William Nylander Glazer.
He called himself that.
This is my third time calling in, and I'm going to talk about this guy again today. And I don't want to be known as the Matthias Michelli Glazer, but again, I felt like he had a really impactful, good game.
Okay.
I feel like when he's on the ice, he's trying to create, he's trying to make plays. So I just want to point out, I think he had another really good game. Overall thoughts on the lineup, and this is more when Nylander comes back. I talked last time I called in about maybe trying him at second line center. I don't think the staff's going to do that, and I'm not sure that the coaching staff will put him on a line with Scott Laughton and Steven Lorentz. As much as I love that idea, I don't know if the coaches will do that. So I'm not sure. Like, if they're not going to do that, my honest opinion is I would move Domi to either the fourth line or scratch him and put Michelli in his spot on the top line. Because I view Domi and Michelli as basically the same type of player. They never really shoot the puck. They're all about pass first, right?
Yep.
Michelli, he did start the season with Matthews, and they didn't really give it enough ground to actually develop, for myself at least, to develop a good opinion on it. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough because I don't really think that Domi is a bottom six player, but at the same time, I don't think Michelli's a bottom six player because I feel like they are the same player. And right now, I think Michelli is playing heads and tails above what Domi is. And this is not saying much, but Michelli is also, I think, a better defensive player than Domi. Like I said, that's not saying much because Domi is frankly terrible defensively. But that's my opinion. And if you notice that in overtime, when Scott Laughton won that face-off and Matthews was on the ice, he got off and Domi didn't get on. It was Michelli, right? So it's not, I don't think Berube thinks that this Domi Matthews thing is like an inseparable, like Matthews and Marner were before. I just think he finally realized that, hey, whenever Domi's on the ice in overtime, he's fishing pucks out of his net. So we've given Berube a lot of flack for the way he's utilized people like Morgan Riley that game where he played 27 minutes and was -4. Good to see Berube not put out Domi in that situation. But it also told me that Matthews isn't glued to Domi as much as Marner was previously. So that's just my thoughts on the lineup. What I would do, I would put Nylander back on the second line with Tavares and Nyes. I think Tavares needs a boost as well. I'd move Michelli to the first line, and then Domi is a guy that I probably would dangle out there as well. Him, Yarncroke, whoever you want out there. I just don't know if Domi fits on that line with Laughton and Lorentz. This is why I'm saying it might be Yarncroke and then you dangle Domi. But
right,
I'm not really concerned about that line, to be honest. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on the game. That's really all I had. I just want to say thanks for giving all of us the platform to come and speak like this. I try talking to my fiance like this, and she thinks I'm a psycho. So,
hey, man, it's you guys who give me the platform to do this. If you guys don't come here and call in and like the stream and support and be in the chat, I don't get to do this. So I thank you. But I mean, I appreciate you calling in. In terms of the fiance or the significant other and talking to them like that, I completely get it, because there's times where I'm just like spouting off about shit and my girlfriend's like, what the fuck are you on about? So if it wasn't for this platform, I also would probably be dealing with the same thing. So Merrick, I appreciate you calling in and giving your thoughts tonight. And obviously you're welcome back anytime, man. Happy to hear from everybody in Leafs Nation. Happy to hear from you, and would love to have you back on as much as you want.
Listen, if you're getting dry next week at 2 a.m. with callers, I'll be here.
Fair. Those games are going to be, side note, those games are going to be nuts. Like going and starting a game at 10 p.m. and Merrick, they're not going to start at 10. They're going to start at 10:15 p.m., 10:20 p.m., and then we're just going to be starting this even later. It's going to be starting at like this time. on Monday and Tuesday. But I'm sure the sickos and the trolls, as the Senators would call their fans, I'm sure they'll be in the chat here as well.
Yeah, I'll be here. That's part of living on the East Coast and being a Leaf fan. Sometimes you got to stay up.
Yes, fair enough. Merrick, thanks for the call here tonight. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night. And hopefully you got enough off your chest that you don't have to get up tomorrow and explain to your fiance all these things that you were thinking and feeling about the lineup and how the team played, and have her look at you like you're speaking gibberish. So hopefully you got it all out here. I do appreciate the call.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Merrick. There you go. Merrick on the post game again. Third call, he said it was, and a great one from Merrick there. Brought up a bunch of good points. Thought he had some good thoughts on the goaltending situation. Obviously, there he was in line with what I was saying about what to do with Max Domi and the lineup coming back. I'm well aware, by the way, to people that the William Nylander, Laughton, Lorentz line is a hot take, but I just look at these guys like I like Michelli in my top 6. I like the third line. I don't want to break them up. I don't want to put Willie on that first line, so I wouldn't put him there and put Domi on the fourth. Like, I'd rather have lines of attack. Quickly here before the last caller of the night, we do have some more super chats. Joe Hill. To be fair, there was no such thing as butterfly style with those 502 start/dart smoking goalies. Fair. Scott Thompson. What about Michelli, Laughton, Willie on the second line? Let JT and Nyes have a bit of a break on the fourth line. I think that's not a bad idea, and I think people here need to kind of start abandoning the idea of line 1, 2, 3, 4, because if that is the way you're going to look at it, yes, nobody's going to agree with that. Nobody's going to like the idea of John Tavares playing on your fourth line or William Nylander playing on your fourth line. But the point is, if you put a guy like that with Scott Laughton, you're then basing it off of Nylander or Tavares, and they're not your second, or they're not your fourth line. They're your third line or your second line at that point. And then it's just how you allocate the minutes and where you spot guys in. Okay, this guy asked to call back, so I want to get to him and hear what he's got to say, because what else was going on? But let's welcome back to the show, and I apologize, we're not going to keep this long. We'll let you get a take or two off here, but welcome back to the show, Mark from Oshawa. Mark, I hope you can understand. You did call in already, so I'm not trying to mute you or not give you an opportunity to speak, but you did call in, and we are running long. So what else do you got for us? Why did you need to call back in?
Actually, the reason I called back in, because a friend of mine that's not sure how to do it yet, she wanted to know what your thought on is the younger goalie for the Marlies that was brought up to back up, I think, Hildeby at one point.
Artyomov.
Yes. Do you think he'll play at one point this year?
Well, he did play. He played in that Edmonton game in relief. I would say barring injury outside of that, no. I think what you have in the three goalies right now, you're going to roll with. It sounds like Stolarz is nearing a return. Take that for what you will, because to this point, everything has been so back and forth, up and down with injuries and everything. But I would say no, Artyomov would not play this year. Patrick G. Mafia pointing out he's a good prospect, and I think with the goaltender, it's probably better to overcook the guy than to bring him up a little too early, unless it's necessity, which you were forced into when you had no Wall and no Stolarz for that period of time, and it was Hildeby and Artyomov on the bench. So I would say no. But I don't think that's because of him being a bad goalie. I think it's just he's a prospect,
right,
and you're just waiting for the guy to come through, and you have three good goaltenders ahead of him on the depth chart right now.
I know somebody, I think the gentleman before you was mentioning about the Domi and Michelli thing. Like, I would have moved Domi off the top line and put Michelli on the top line, but then I don't know where you would have put Domi when Nylander came back, is what
I would put him on the fourth, is where I would put him, because I would take Yarncroke out. I would put Nylander on the second line with Michelli and Tavares, but then if you want to keep Nyes on that second line, I would move Nyes to the left wing, Michelli to the first line right wing, Domi to the fourth line.
Now, last thing, and I know you're tired and I get it. As far as trades go, I know we need a top six forward, or we need a a top defenseman. I heard McCowan's name being rumored around. As far as the trade is concerned, would you use McCowan as trade bait, and what would you use him for? A top 6 forward or a top D to make a playoff push if we were 2 to 4 points to make the playoffs?
To be honest, no, I would not like to dangle him out there right now. I would rather this kid be here, be a part of this team. I think the way he's developing, the way he's playing, I would rather keep him in this group and keep him for the future. In terms of if you're going to look to add anybody to this group, I think you probably look to add...
You're not moving Danforth.
No, I think you probably look to add somebody in your top 6 forwards because I think you could still improve on that. I think you can still improve on Domi. You can improve on guys up there, and that's the way I would look. But yeah, that's probably how I would approach it. And I would not make Cowan available.
I was gonna say I know I agree with you. My friend wanted to know, but that last thing I'll say, because I know you're tired, is that honestly, I would leave the team the way it is, and I wouldn't trade or pick up anybody, and I would just let the season play out. Whether you make if you make the playoffs, great. If you don't, you don't. But in the off season, then figure out what you want to do with the players you've got. Run with it and see where it gets you.
Yep, I would agree with you. Yeah, it's not even because I'm tired. I don't have anything to add to that. I agree, Mark. I'm on the same page. Like I would keep them as they are. I would not try to trade away or add anybody until you can determine what your group is. And then for the most part here, leading up to this deadline, like I wouldn't be too horny to go out there and try to make moves. I would try to let these guys figure it out as is.
Exactly. All right, Zach, I won't keep you. Thank you for taking the second call. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Enjoy your night, and I'll see you on Saturday, I'm assuming.
All right. Yes, you will. Have a good night, buddy.
Right. There you go. Mark from Oshawa. Appreciate it, as always. Let's wrap with this. Let's do these rapid fire. Let's get to our play of the game first and foremost. Play of the game. It's easy. It's predictable, but it's the Scott Laughton goal. Short-handed, ties the game. It's an unbelievable play by Scooty Lutz to get that thing into the back of the net on that opportunity. I look at that chance. I look at the penalty kill. I look at the face-offs tonight. Scott Laughton was out of his mind. He's the only guy who could get this belt. He did get the belt here. It's the Scott Laughton goal. And then finally, to wrap this thing up, grade of the game. I'm gonna go with a B. It's a B for me. Penalty kill does amazing. You score shorthanded. The power play, not great. The battle back, no quit. Dennis Hildeby, amazing. Those things are all positive. I think just in general, the fact that it was a slow start, but you picked it up is great. Face-off percentage, obviously, insane in this one. Blocked shots, you beat the Flyers there. Hits, 25 for the Flyers, 20 for the Leafs. I'm gonna go with. I'm going with the B. I think B is my grade. Okay, with that, let's wrap it up. Thanks to everybody who watched, subscribed. Joe Hill. Play of the game, that sends PR release. Sickos. Yes, sickos. Thanks to everybody who watched, subscribed, commented, liked, super chatted. Thanks to everybody who called in. 3-hour post-game show on Game 43 with the Leafs beating the Philadelphia Flyers here tonight. 2-1 in overtime, getting themselves 1 point out of a playoff spot here now. Thanks to everybody who watched. I will be back on Saturday for another post-game breakdown and game preview, as a matter of fact, for a game. Actually, no, I won't. I won't be doing either. Shit. I forgot about this until right now. I won't be here Saturday. Nick Alberga and producer Vic will be doing the Saturday show. I will be in Michigan on a work trip, so I won't be here on Saturday. Maybe I can call in later depending on if they're still going and give some thoughts or whatever, but I won't be in hosting the show on Saturday. So just a note for everybody there. Shit. I should have mentioned that earlier. I forgot about it. Okay. Well, with that, we'll wrap. Thanks to everybody. I guess I will see you back here on Monday for another game preview, post-game show, and it'll be a late one. So I hope everyone shows up. Thank you for watching. Thanks for calling. See you guys then. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to subscribe here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.